How many chairs are you sitting on right now? Are you all in on the chair? You put on one pair of glasses. You've got one pair of AirPods right now. You're looking at me through one screen. Like, you're using one microphone. That's a one microphone. Like, you trust it? Is that conviction? It seems kind of scary. Why don't you diversify? Why don't you use 10 microphones? Did you drive in 10 cars at the same time or one car at one time? Do you drive down one street? Aren't you afraid that you're driving down one street? You know? Do you take a different way? You get on one airplane? Are you convicted? You put your entire family in the one airplane? Aren't you afraid? When you use knives, do you have copper knives, wooden knives, steel knives, aluminum knives, rubber band knives, diamond knives because you're afraid to commit to the right knife? So my point really is, ultimately, if you're a rational individual, it's a
What time they fix the title?
good, baby? What's good? Welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to the fucking stream, baby. After a weekend of all weekend. I'm not gonna lie, it was my boy's birthday this weekend, and I went out on Friday night and I fucking ripped. Okay, I went out on Friday night and I was fucking ripping. And wait, hold on. I went out on Friday and I was fucking ripping. Okay? And I came back on Saturday morning. I woke up at 2 p.m. on Saturday morning. Because by the way, I've been working hard, man. I've been working hard. I've been putting in fucking hours. I've been putting in. They'll do a fit check real quick. Yeah, it's Ken Carson. Limited. Yeah, can't do it like this, like me. I've been putting in work. And I went out on Friday and I fucking ripped. And I woke up on Saturday at 2 p.m. with the craziest hangover you've seen in a long time. And I open TradingView and dropped my jaw to the floor. And, you know, I have a lot of takes on where we are right now. And some of them are relatively dark. I have some dark takes. But honestly, a lot of them are pretty optimistic. And I'm going to just keep it a buck and we'll get into some nuance. I think we're going to be fine. I actually know that we're going to be fine. But what's happening right now is definitely not ideal. And I think that I'm going to use this stream to just give you my honest thoughts. I'm going to give you a lot of my honest thoughts as we've been doing. Honestly, not that much has changed other than the price has like gotten a little bit red. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to get into all of it. I hope you all had a good weekend, price aside. It's fucking freezing in New York City, but I'm having a good time, if you were wondering. And things are going to be all right, chat. They're going to be all right. So, Bongo, what's good, Bongo? Pre-rich intern, what's good? Digi what's good? Rockefeller, what's good? Huck, what's good? Muddy, what's good? Viblet, what's good? Caleb, what's good? Threadguy's baby mama, what's good? Baby moms. Huck, what's good? Jackson Ray, what's good? Avenger, what's good? Russ Bond, what's good? Muddy, what's good? Digi Money, what's good? Poco, what's good? Jack, what's good? Mongkok Maxi, Fartcoin Maxi. What the fuck is good? It's crazy. As Bitcoin price legs down, you would think less people would tune into the stream, but we have a fucking family here, and it's awesome. Rowdy was in here for a second. Shelby's in here. Bitriss is in here. Whole squad's in here. You love to see it. So let's I don't really know where to start, to be honest. What you've been doing on FOMO, I gotta choose my verbiage carefully. You know, I get off stream and I use non-stream PG language, and then I come on stream and I have to really put chat on stream. Oh, Luke, come on, bro. My FOMO Pinot is really, really, really bad. Damn, what's wrong with chat on stream? Come on, Luke. You're fucking me up, man. You're fucking me up. You're fucking me up. You're fucking me up. You're fucking me up. All right, let's, it's on. It's on. Hold on. Come on, bro. Let's get some topics. This was a crazy weekend, one of the craziest weekends I think in a long time. One, you have crypto breakdown a little bit, which was kind of eerie, kind of jarring. In a way, it was kind of like found some solace in it, if I'm being completely honest, but it was pretty brutal to watch. I almost found myself like dancing in it a little bit, like dancing in the pain. It was kind of brutal to watch. And then, yeah, Luke, click around. You're good. And then the second thing that happened this weekend that I think really accelerated, which we're not going to talk about that much today, but at some point we will probably do a segment on it, is the Epstein files, which has basically taken over my timeline. Basically my entire Twitter timeline is either people posting the files or people fighting about other people like Elon and Reid Hoffman or Palmer Luckey and Jason Calacanis, or like it's basically become my entire, god damn it, Luke, my entire feed. And man, I was just thinking about this like today over the last couple of days. We live, and I'm relating this to tokens. Also, CZ and Star beefing, like the titans of every industry is just like going to war basically. And I was thinking about this weekend, and please tell me that works. Type in the chat. Wait, type. Type. Dude, come on, bro. We gotta get this to work. Come on. Oh! All right, whatever. We'll fix it later. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. Just stop clicking, Luke. You're good. Just leave it. But I was thinking about this weekend, and I was thinking about it as it relates to crypto tokens and as it relates to like politics a little bit. And it's like, dude, in 2025, something that makes cultural life relatively difficult is that because everyone is so terminally fucking hyper online, these like news cycles move so fast, and it doesn't allow anything to have linear. There's no such thing as linear growth. If something, a trend happens, it fucking hyper happens right here, right now, all at once, and then we just snap back onto the next one. And it's like I was thinking about it as it relates to talking about politics this weekend, and think about how fast we sped ran wokeism into alt-right MAGA into people being fucking like, fuck this, I'm done. Think about how fast that transition happened. It wasn't like a slow bleed into being conservatives is cool. It was like, clap your hands. Trump's only been in office for a fucking year, bro, for 1 year. It happened so fast. And we'll talk about it as it relates to crypto tokens as well. But it's like, man, these rotation, like Moltbook. In 1 day, Moltbook is the most viral thing on the internet. Every single AI leader, every single tech billionaire, everybody is talking about it all at once at the exact same time. And then 48, 72 hours pass, and it's like, what? It's gone. On to the next thing. Zeitgeist has moved on. We've already passed that that little moment in time, and it's done. And it's pretty I don't know, it's definitely overstimulating. It definitely makes participating in culture difficult, and I think it wears on people a little bit. It's like every moment is mega church. Every moment in time is mega church. It happens so aggressively that you just snap from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. And it brings a lot of positive aspects to society and into the world, but it definitely makes markets hard to trade. It makes markets really hard to trade, and I think it gives an advantage on, you know, it's like the GCR he stole it from someone, but chase 2 rabbits, catch none. It happens so fast that it gives an edge to the people that can stay stuck on an idea or build conviction around a concept. But it's hard to build conviction around a concept when it moves so fast. It's like every day there's some new AI topic that just like takes over the fucking world. By the way, if you feel bad and behind on AI, we'll talk about this real quick. We'll talk about crypto. I set up Claudebot this weekend. I swear to God, I spent 10 hours hacking together Claudebot, setting it up, hooking up on an AWS server, then hooking up locally on my Mac so it could do Google search and it could like combine together. I set up Claudebot on my backup Mac, and dude, it's not that good. It's not that good. If you're like stressed about it, it's not that good. It's not that good. It's no better than Claude Code locally on your terminal. Claude Code is fine. You got to get Claude Code and use Claude Code, but the Claude Bot thing is like it's a really cool concept, but it's no better. It's worse than Claude Code. You don't have to use it. If you're like advanced and you're a tech guy, you should try it just to like get it set up. Or if you're like me and you're retarded and you can't use tech, you should force yourself to figure out how to set it up so you could get the concept right. But it's not that good. It's not that good. I spent a lot of time with it this weekend, and it's fun. I'm having fun with Claude Code. I'm optimistic. Like we're rapidly approaching this renaissance of software on the internet, I think, and it's gonna be really fun. And there's gonna be, there's probably gonna be a Moltbook a month until the end of time, if we're being honest. And it's fun and it's exciting for people on the bleeding edge of the internet, but it's not that good. Okay, the Claude bot thing is not that good. I'm just telling you. I used it. Spent a lot of hours setting it up. It's not that good. What's good, Flood? Enjoyed your spaces the other day, buddy. It's a really good one. We'll talk about HIP 4 at some point here. Prediction markets. But okay, so here's the plan for today. I got a bunch of stuff I want to get into, a bunch of stuff I want to cover. And then at 4:45, Thiccy, in 45 minutes, Thiccy Thought is going to come on, who, in my humble opinion, is one of the better traders that has ever come through crypto Twitter. I like the way he thinks about things. He's a very sharp gentleman, and I'm a big fan of Thiccy. He doesn't do a lot of interviews. He's sort of a rare get. He's like it's like a legendary Pokemon, but one of those roamers. It's like Suicune or Entei kind of thing, you know? You can't just fuck. It's like, yeah, you can't just, they don't just spawn at one location. You have to hunt them down. And he's going to come on, and I'm just going to warn you, okay? I'm going to warn you. I'll reiterate the warning before he comes on, but I'm just going to warn you right now. It's not going to be the most optimistic interview. I'm just going to tell you this right now. I know for a fact, I generally know where this is going to go because I hung out with him 2 weeks ago, and then I listened to the Twitter space that he did on Saturday. It's not going to be the most optimistic interview. It's just not, okay? It's just not going to be the most optimistic interview. And you do just have to understand where he's coming from, though. And you have to understand the place in life he has as someone who's been like I think it's easier to look back at the industry you did very well in with some gloom and some doom when you've been very successful within it. And so I don't agree with a lot of his takes. I agree with some of them. And I think he has fascinating perspective on life. He can give us some fucking unk wisdom. He can give us some unk wisdom. And it's an important one because I wanted to bring him here today on Monday, and I'm going to do my best to set the stage on what I think is happening and where I think that we are. But I wanted to have an outside opinion come on and just do like a world building type of stream where we are, what we believe in, what we think is next, how to position for the world, just like a general, like vertical by vertical by vertical by vertical type of stream, and just sort of like do like a little bit of a reset for us. And so that's what he's going to come on and do. And it's not going to be the most optimistic, but it's going to be enticing to listen to. It's going to be exciting. It's going to maybe make you think about things from a little bit of a different perspective. And I think he's like the right guest to bring on today. So that's what we're going to do. And I think you're going to enjoy it, but I'm just warning you before we get there. Don't take, if it's, I don't know how dark it's going to be, but if it is dark, don't take it as law. Okay. Take it as a way to think about, take it as a new proposed perspective to approach things through, but don't take it as law because fuck that. It's gay. I don't want to do that. I'm just warning you because I don't know where it's going to go. I'm just like letting you know. I'm just giving you a PG TV screen warning. Also, yeah, in this moment, you definitely can tell if someone was long hype or not based on the market sentiment vibes. Flood, we got to run a stream at some point, but we'll probably get to Hyperliquid near the end. Who is this? Near the end of stream after Thiccy gets off. Probably we'll talk about hype. And I think we're going to have a good one today. So, okay, the first thing I want to cover really quick before we start stream is the crash outs this weekend were fucking unreal, okay? And the first one I want to read really quick is, dude, Flood has a thing. He says it all the time. He says no e-girls, okay? No e-girls. Number one is I'll skip this one for now. I'll come back to it later. If you're familiar with Growing Daniel, he was dating a Russian spy and was compromised. And it's fucking dark, dude. He's dating a Russian VC spy who's like took over Silicon Valley and it's like in every deal. And she's a Russian spy and she's dating this guy and he's like compromised and it was really fucking insane. But that one's like a step removed from us. Smiley, what's good? And so this one is relative to us, and I'm going to read it right now. This account, 1010, post. I think this is real. Posted this on Saturday. And it's a quote tweet of Justin's son, Tron, who was accused of the SEC of fraud and wash trading. He was a huge investor in World Liberty Fi. He's like a relatively controversial figure in crypto. I don't know much about him. Kind of a 21 legend, I think. But I was Justin's girlfriend during the early stages of his entrepreneurship with TRX, Tron. I am in possession of evidence showing that he used the identities and mobile phones of multiple employees to register numerous Binance accounts through which he conducted coordinated buying and selling on the Binance exchange to artificially inflate the price of TRX, followed by large-scale selling to dump on retail investors, thereby obtaining enormous illegal profits. I am willing to fully cooperate with an SEC investigation and to submit all relevant WeChat chat records as well as evidence provided to me by his employees proving his market manipulation activities. I request that the U.S. judicial authorities contact me, and I respectfully ask that this information be forwarded as widely as possible. Bro, this is, I don't know what he did, and honestly, I'm not even gonna say I don't care what he did because it's gonna clip that out of context, but like, dog, this is what you call worst case scenario, okay? There's levels to worst case scenario. It's a little bit of a spectrum, okay? There's best case, there's somewhere in the middle, and then there is your girlfriend going on Twitter, ex-girlfriend going on Twitter, and tagging the SEC in a tweet and saying that I'm willing to fully cooperate and need protection in an SEC investigation, okay? And this was quote tweeted by, oh man, there's a lot of tweets on this. Quote tweeted by this. I also have an Epstein files of the crypto world. Dude. Yeah. Crazy. I don't know if this is like an elaborate troll. Thank God I wasn't around in 2021. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if this is like an elaborate troll or what exactly this is, but it's what you call worst case scenario. And it's really dark. And I think it's real. And so she made a tweet. I'll read this one and then we'll get on some topics. Is the reason I exposed him is that I devoted my own future to his career. The man who once promised to marry me later. At a recent public event, openly boasted to CZ that he was dating a well-known athlete. Subsequently, at a private dinner with prominent figures from the Chinese cryptocurrency industry, he announced that he was in a relationship with the famous Chinese-American skier Eileen Gu. Okay. The way he handled our breakup was brutal and cruel, utterly devoid of any human decency. He is immensely wealthy, and I may very well pay a heavy personal price for speaking out. For a long time, I lived in fear of such power and authority, my heart filled with hesitation and cowardice. Yet I watched as a man who built his fortune by ruthlessly exploiting retail investors and laundering money for illicit networks transformed himself into a tycoon. He could publicly declare a relationship with hashtag Eileen Gu. He could invest in the digital currency project of U.S. presidential figure in exchange for his own protection. I think he bought $100 million of World Liberty. He could use the money to manufacture endless online praise, celebrating his so-called successes. He could spend tens of millions of dollars to travel to space, millions more to dine with Warren Buffett, and boast on X that he was willing to spend $3 million per hour just for a meeting with Elon Musk. Before my eyes, a man who once dreamed of changing the world as a hero transformed into an insurmountable gate of corruption and wrongdoing. I hate his ruthlessness, and I regret even more that I once helped fuel his rise. I wish to confess before God and to correct the wrongs I have been part of. I no longer want to live in fear. I only have one life, and I choose not to remain silent. Finally, I must ask, at Eric Trump and at real Donald Trump, President Trump, how can you stand alongside such a person? Has money also clouded your judgment? Is the leader of a nation that claims to uphold justice and fairness across the world someone who can be bought for a handful of dollars, freely granting protection and exemptions like a merchant striking deals? If that is the case, where should our faith in the United States be placed? With this resolve, I decided to report everything to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. Bad news on the Trump is the leader of a nation that claims to uphold justice and fairness across the world, someone who could be bought for a handful of dollars. Yeah. I think yeah. I think yeah on that, which is very unfortunate, but I think yeah on that. So yeah, probably yes. And yeah, pretty brutal. I don't know what the fuck Justin Sun did. I don't think it is a crazy take to be like, yeah, he might be involved in some illicit activities on the blockchain in his past. I think most serious people in the industry that have a take on Justin Sun is like not the best. I don't really know. All I know is he bought that fucking banana for $6 million, whatever. This thing. Best, thanks for the gifted. Right, let's see. Bought this thing. He ate it. You know the famous banana taped to the wall? He bought it for $6 million and he ate it. He ate it. He took a bite out of it. So, I don't know. That's the deal. That is a crash out fitting for how this weekend has played out. And let us talk about the market, okay? Let's talk about Bitcoin first. Then I want to talk about why I'm excited about on-chain, and then we will get Thiccy on, and then we will go from there, okay? Okay. So I want to read this tweet first. And the quote tweet in question, we're going to talk about, I'll go metals, Bitcoin, on-chain, okay? I think if the metals was really based by fear of real debasement, Bitcoin would have participated. I think it was driven by the weakening of the rules-based international order directly caused by Trump and the desire of other central banks to diversify away from US and US assets. Bitcoin doesn't help you if you need to secure weapon and energy imports during a major crisis. Gold might. I think that was the underlying reason, and then mass psychology and FOMO fueled by the current bubble. Okay? So there's a quote tweet here, and I guess for context, silver, not great. Gold, not great, but decent. Bitcoin, pretty bad. Copper, not great. Good tweet here I like. And I think the whole story is literally Russia invaded Ukraine. US froze Russian assets. China started buying gold. Gold went up. Investors see gold going up and heard the narrative started chasing. At some point, someone started asking, if gold is up already, what else is like gold? Silver and platinum? Let's chase those two. It's alt season. And then the rare earth China thing happened. And AI created energy demand for copper and lithium. Before you knew it, it feels like there's a bid for every metal on the periodic table. All the crypto traders are degens who have no belief in anything other than the price chart. Suddenly, see there's other things on Robinhood. So crypto is abandoned in favor of metals. It's all the same thing anyways. Number goes up. That's it. It has nothing to do with debasement or hyperinflation. It's just degen speculation, not saying isn't fundamentals. I think that this chart right here to be able to whipsaw like this really makes you feel that all of this is speculative capital. Retail traders and speculators chasing the hot thing. And I think it has to make you feel better about Bitcoin not catching the flows, because if Bitcoin isn't catching flows on central banks hammering metals and real dollar debasement, and Bitcoin's just getting cucked, it really doesn't feel great. If there was a little bit of that, and then followed by retail mania speculation crazy to follow, which would assume that's why it was able to dump so hard, you don't feel as bad about Bitcoin underperforming, right? It doesn't like fundamentally break the Bitcoin thesis. And I think this tweet is exactly what happened. And it would also explain why like the metal to BTC rotation hasn't really happened, which, by the way, looking back on it, was kind of a weak cope. I have one more cope left, which we'll get to in a couple minutes. But I think it's like a reasonable way to explain why we didn't catch debasement flows, because there wasn't that many debasement flows. And I think it's a decent take. So I'm going to read one more tweet, and then I'm just going to talk for 30 minutes. Okay? I also don't think it's because quantum, by the way. I don't think it's because quantum. I really don't. I think it's easy for us to pin narratives on why after the fact. I don't think it's because quantum. I really don't. I really don't. I'm going to read this, and then let's talk about what's going on. So this is the last existential crisis for the space. In a few years, the global financial system will be built on blockchains. Companies built over this period will generate hundreds of billions in annual revenue, and the less than 5,000 of us who stuck around will be happy we did so. Very important quote tweet here that I think if you're still here and believe in crypto, let's talk about this for the next 30 minutes. Is Trader Noah. Some thoughts. Past crypto cycles elevated many people that should have never been given the outside voice that they received. It took time to make clear who deserved it and who didn't, but now it's all known. We had too many fast money capital providers and too few slow money capital providers. The funds were in a position to move this space forward, largely use their position to extract value at the expense of others via negative sum games. While the game was shrinking, many of the remaining participants were holding out hope for some last-ditch exit opportunity. Think dads in the 4-year cycle mentality. We are now in a position where crypto either dies or we build something of value. The uncertainty of its death is necessary to dissuade unethical participants from staying in this space, and we need to churn a larger percentage of crypto traders relative to long-term participants so price action doesn't lead to incorrect conclusions or negative fundamental outcomes. I'd like to think the probability of death is low, but I'm aware it exists. I think this is the most important paragraph that we'll probably read this year as far as what's next, which is we are now in a position where crypto either dies or we build something of value. The uncertainty of its death is necessary to dissuade unethical participants from staying in the space. And we need to churn a larger percentage of crypto traders relative to long-term participants so price action doesn't lead to incorrect conclusions or negative fundamental outcomes. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about Bitcoin first. And do you have any takes on Thiccy drama? Who cares? Who the fuck cares is my take. Who cares? 1010 was 5 months ago. I don't fucking care what happened. Smiley, I'll save that and come back to it. Here's my take. Okay. I have just like, I spent this weekend just getting black pilled, blue pilled, white pilled, yellow pilled, and all over the place. And I wrote some things down. And I really sat down and thought about Bitcoin and what Bitcoin is, what it offers, why it matters, why it's important, and why you would buy it. And I reiterated in my own brain that Bitcoin is absolutely guaranteed to make it, in my opinion. Bitcoin is going to make it. Bitcoin will one day trade at $1 million. And Bitcoin is arguably one of the most important technical creations in the history of humans, and arguably the most important financial advancement that we've ever created. Okay? Now, I don't want to overstate the fact that we have serious problems narrative-wise with Bitcoin, and that it just might take a lot longer than you want and think, and it might be a little bit more grim and dark when this thing does play out. Okay? And I think something that's happened. Wait, I'm going to tell Thiccy I need a little bit more time. Something that's happened with Bitcoin that I think has gotten lost as we think about why underperformance given the rest of the world is that Bitcoin has largely become, Bitcoin and crypto, but let's talk Bitcoin, then I'll talk crypto. Bitcoin has largely become overshadowed and unattractive as an investment versus AI over the last 3 years. Really over the last 2 years, year and a half. But I think over the last 3 years, where in 2021, Crypto was the only game in town. If you wanted to bet on technological innovation and be on the bleeding edge, it was crypto. It was blockchain, it was metaverse, it was crypto. And AI wasn't, like, AI was obviously massive and it was a thing and people were excited about it, but like there wasn't the consumer AI products. There wasn't OpenAI, there wasn't Anthropic, there wasn't Claude Code, or there wasn't public LLMs more so. OpenAI existed, but there wasn't GPT, there wasn't Grok. These things didn't really exist. And so there's this, you know, equally massive, large pool of capital that needs to go, speculative capital that needs to go somewhere. And the place that could take it all in was crypto. Okay. And what that led to is a lot of the outcomes that Trader Noah speaks of, which is bad actors, undeserving vehicles running harder than they should, and general over expectation for how big this thing can get. General over expectation, I think. And so over the last 2 years, year and a half, if you really think back at like what happened, the value proposition of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin didn't become worse, but it became less interesting as you put it next to artificial intelligence. And I think that this has become understated when we like get angry at crypto and wonder why Bitcoin isn't outperforming. Well, part of the reason is that like Nvidia's multiple trillions of dollars. Part of the reason is like OpenAI and Anthropic, these things have gotten as big as they've gotten. And the AI robotics, but really AI for me is like Bitcoin has become a little bit unattractive as it relates to that. The second thing is that I think a lot of people rage quit. Like we referenced this 2023 Russia-Ukraine invasion where the US freezes Russia's holding of US T-bills and bonds and assets basically. And Bitcoin just like wasn't ready for that main stage, right? Like we've talked about this a lot at this point. I think Arthur Hayes was the first person to come on stream and really articulate this towards us. But Bitcoin was like not ready to catch the central bank flows yet. It just like wasn't ready to catch it yet. We're still too small. We're still too early. And because a lot of that money went into gold, went into metals, we've now seen the giga outperformance. I think a lot of people are angry that Bitcoin's only 15, 20 years old and it wasn't really ready. And so I think there's a lot of time problems as in we're too early, and there's a lot of like competition problems. And so if you really think about it, the path forward for Bitcoin to go to $1 million is super obvious. I've honestly never really believed in it more, but I think it might be a little grim. Like it might just take major geopolitical unrest and like edging towards World War III and like a lot of uncertainty amongst powerful countries to be like, oh fuck, Bitcoin needs to pump. It may just be continued outflows of people looking to diversify away from the dollar as the world reserve currency, away from like full US exposure, away from US treasuries and US bonds into other things, and realizing, oh my God, gold's at $40 billion, Bitcoin's at $40 trillion, Bitcoin's at 1.5. Maybe we have way better, we're not Russia, we're not China, we're not this like world power. We have way better RR just buying BTC. Flows slowly go into BTC. And it might also just be like what Good Alexander talks about all the time. It's like extremely wealthy individuals in the world getting squeezed, probably due to geopolitical unrest, realizing that they don't really have a lot of places to put their money or to get it out of the traditional system, and then boom, BTC. It just might be a little bit dark and it might take a little bit of time, but I've basically convinced myself that the Bitcoin thesis is as strong, if not stronger, than it's ever been. It still belongs in this world where it's being outshined by AI and these other investable asset classes. And Bitcoin is going to be completely fine, in my opinion. It's probably going to take longer than you think, but I really like sat down and thought about this. And can you move? Oh yeah, I got you, Malcolm. I sat down and I thought about this, and I just like came to the conclusion like we're going to be completely fine on BTC. Now, that leaves everything else. Like, that leaves everything else. I really stripped this shit down. That leaves everything else. Let's talk about everything else. So when I think of everything else, you have Bitcoin, we have stable coins, we have trading vehicles a la perp dexes, we have privacy, and then we have on-chain. If I'm missing anything, let me know. One is stablecoins are incredible technology. It's one of the greatest things we've ever created. And stablecoins have already won. You're not going to get rich from stablecoins. Tether's one of the biggest businesses in the world. You didn't make any money from Tether. Circle, USDC, is a publicly traded company. They're worth deca billions. You didn't make any money from USDC. You're probably not gonna make any money from Athena or USDE. You're not really gonna make money from stablecoins. Therefore, me as a speculator and as a trader, I'm not really interested in the stablecoin vertical. Okay, one over, you have privacy. I think, and I've really thought about my Zcash position and what I think about privacy over the last couple of days as well. I think privacy is probably the most underpriced narrative in the world, in all markets. It's like $15, $20 billion in crypto, and it should be many trillions. It's like disgustingly underpriced. The problem is what vehicle, as in what do you buy? What's the best way to express long privacy? Is it XMR or Zcash? Maybe. I kind of think so. I think it's maybe one of them. Is it some new thing that doesn't exist yet? I don't really know. It's relatively unclear. And I think it's going to just be a boring trade. As I've thought about privacy, I think it's going to be a boring trade. I think it's going to trade as like a beta to Bitcoin. And for the same reasons that Bitcoin is probably going to get squeezed and go up really, really, like, because the thing about the Bitcoin trade is it's probably going to be really boring and really slow until it's like nuclear. Privacy is probably the same thing. It probably trades as a proxy beta of Bitcoin, and it's going to be boring. It's going to be slow. It isn't really that exciting until it's the most important thing in the world. Like, it doesn't really matter until you desperately need it, which makes for a boring trade. It makes for an important, good RR trade. But the privacy thing is like pretty boring, and it sort of already exists. Like, you could just buy Zcash. There's not that much like innovation. Like if it works as intended, there isn't this like deep problem to solve on the privacy. If this is the final product, or it's relatively close to the final product, it's not that exciting from a speculator perspective. That's privacy. Then we have perp dexes, and we have everything else. Okay, perp dex rise onto the scene has been insane, really hyper liquid, but I kind of feel like it's a winner take all type of niche where Hyperliquid's probably just going to win, and it's going to eat at these traditional trading venues. Like Robinhood's getting destroyed, right? Robinhood's like $90 right now. Robinhood's down fucking 40% from ATH and looks terrible. Coinbase, all of these things are going to, they just announced prediction markets. All of these things are going to really struggle to compete with Hyperliquid. But you're not going to catch 1,000x on Hyperliquid from here. You're just not. You're not going to catch 1,000x from Hyperliquid. And for someone like me, there's money. I believe that there's money to be made on Hyperliquid. But you're 3, 4, 5x to flipping Robinhood, which is like a pretty aspirational market cap. And most people in this stream could full port Hyperliquid. I would imagine like a lot of people that watch the stream could full port Hyperliquid with leverage, ride it all the way to flip Robinhood, and you still probably wouldn't have enough money to like retire. Therefore, it probably isn't the most exciting thing that you've ever seen. Like, it's awesome and it's incredible and it really works, but it's a like size stack size type of trade. And everything else on the perp deck scene is relatively uninteresting to me. Like, I don't really want to trade hype beta. I'm not excited to say to buy Lighter. I'm not excited to buy Avantis or to buy Drift or to buy these other tokens. I'm not that excited to buy any of them. And so Bitcoin, guarantee. Stablecoins, incredible, but there's no money for you to be made. Privacy, guarantee, but probably slow and follows Bitcoin. Perp dexes, a lot of opportunity. It's probably just going to be a Hyperliquid vamps everything. And you're not going to get 1,000x. And what that leaves us with is the rest. Okay? And I think that the rest is the thing that is in question when Trader Noah says it might not exist. And you have to accept it might die. But what you have to understand about the rest is the upside on somebody, and really hear me on this. The upside of solving and the upside on the rest working is so grandiose and unbelievably large in TAM and potential upside that it's like the last problem in crypto to solve. And it has so much upside. It's hard. I salivate when I think about this. And I think if I could define it, it is how to make on-chain tokens investable over a sustained and long time frame is the last problem in crypto. It's the last problem in crypto. Bitcoin, hard money, permissionless money is solved. Perpetual futures is solved. Stable coins and like frictionless free transactions of 7, 8, 9 figures is solved. Privacy is relatively solved. The last question is the biggest: how to make on-chain tokens investable. I think it's like the biggest potential upside of anything in crypto, and this thing working or not working over the next decade, I think basically will dictate the future of crypto. I think it will dictate the future of crypto, whether this works or not. Like, if in 3 years we haven't solved this, I think you kind of look at crypto and you're like, Bitcoin is awesome, and I'm gonna just put like 30% of my 40, 50% of my net worth in Bitcoin, and I'm gonna like trade other stuff. Like, this working or not working, I think is like the question. It's the $1 million, $1 trillion question, and I don't think it's as clear as like a token standard or a tokenomics model or exactly how this gets solved. But I think this is the last problem in crypto, and where I think the opportunity lies amongst this is the intersection of AI and crypto. I think this is like I think it has potential to be the biggest thing we've ever seen. I really do. I think it has the potential to be the biggest thing that we've ever seen in markets, especially in crypto. It has potential to be so unfathomably bigger than anything we've ever touched. But how it gets solved is like a little bit unclear, okay? And so I'll go back. I'll say why I think there's so much money in AI, and then I'll say what I think it's going to be, okay? Thiccy has this take, and he basically says, I'm just going to ramble for 20 minutes and just try to follow me. It's going to be a mess, but I'm kind of a mess. Thiccy said yesterday on his take that if there were to be an on-chain crypto maniac run again, you basically need a new cohort of unsophisticated masses to acquire capital. Okay? The reason that NFTs and alt season and crypto in general was able to run so hard in 2021 is you gave a bunch of fucking normal normies. I don't use the word retards. You gave a bunch of random people $1,200 and said, go do whatever you want. And they went and they fucking gambled with it. It is like the epitome of unsophisticated masses with capital. It is exactly what it is, and it led to mania. Every alt asset pump, everything pumped because they're fucking firing it in. Now we're in this spot where the only people left buying crypto are the sharpest sharps, and there's no fish left to extort and extract from. Where is the next cohort of unsophisticated capital that has a lot of money? It is obviously Web 2 AI right now. It is like so obviously Web 2 AI. Okay, like think about this. It reminds me a lot of 2020 crypto, 2021, 2020 crypto. Is you basically have you start at the top with a win condition that is so extreme that VCs will salivate and be willing to throw billions of dollars behind it. Insert AGI. Okay, you basically have a vision that is so extreme, people are willing to pour any amount of money into it. It doesn't matter how expensive it is to try and win this win condition. Very similar to like reimagining the financial system. Equally grandiose vision, right? You start there, you go one layer below, and you have some of the smartest, most talented engineers in the world building some of the most important technology that's ever happened. Okay, you have OpenAI, you have Anthropic, you have Elon Musk with XAI, you have Perplexity, you have these AI labs that are genuinely building like God in the computer, right? They're building technology. It's like so incredible. You cry the first time you use Claude Code. And so they are worth, you know, trillions of dollars. OpenAI is going to IPO at $1 trillion. Anthropic just raised at $500 billion. XAI and SpaceX are combining for the $2 trillion IPO. Like, they're worth infinite amounts. You go one layer removed. You could compare this to like Ethereum. You could compare it to Bitcoin. You could compare it to BAYC in the early days. How excited people were about, you know, digital art and NFTs. You go one layer down, and then you basically get everybody else trying to replicate that success or build off of it. And so you get infinite inflows from VCs that have just write the fucking check. I don't care how much it is. You have a big vision. You have infinite inflows from VCs. And then you have every single young, relatively talented or aspirational or somewhat smart grifter, whatever person in the world is coming into AI, launching startups and raising ridiculous amounts of money on big ideas to try to get to that second layer with no users, no revenue, no anything. And so you're left with this you're left with this huge, like, AI Twitter is huge. This huge pool of fresh developer talent that has really accomplished nothing and has way more money than they know what to do with. That's what like VC and AI is right now. It reminds me a lot of 2021, right? It's like every infra L1 could pitch you some vision about how they're gonna like be the next Ethereum, and boom, they're worth $100 billion. Boom, $50 billion. Boom, $1 billion raised, and, you know, 10B FTV on day one. Like, it's like very similar to crypto, where there's like so much money trying to chase this like vision that is unclear if you can even reach, and they don't know what to fucking do with it. And the thing that makes it interesting from a crypto AI perspective is they're very similar to us. Think about it. Think about it. It's like all of these devs, and I'm not talking like OpenAI, I'm talking like a layer removed. They all live on Twitter. They're all terminally online. They're all young. The whole game is like Cluely. How much hype can you get? How much attention can you bring? It doesn't matter how much revenue you have or how many users you have. It's like, how excited can you make people, right? It's all about hype. It's all about vision. It's like the NFT founder playbook, really. It's like you can't really deliver on what you're promising, but if you can keep promising it bigger and bigger and bigger, you can raise more money, more money, more money, more money, more money. And so the parallels of these people compared to what we saw in like 2021 with crypto, I think is very similar. They're very similar to us. Okay. And so imagine now you could go pitch this AI crowd that has more money than they know what to do with, that believes they're on the bleeding edge in changing the world, which some of them are, but most of them are not. That's grifter heavy, and that's really trying to extract while the music is playing. And you pitch to them that you can now invest in other people's companies basically at zero. And you sort of realize like there's a reason that devs fell in love with crypto in the first place. And I think the playbook and the excitement around this like AI Twitter sphere that they're building right now is like, there's just like, they're basically the crypto community. It's like the same thing without the tokens. It's really the same thing, chasing the same thing. They act the same way, they approach the same way. And so the reason I think that there's like this philosophical bleed between the two. Parallels between what AI is right now and what it was and what crypto was in 2020, 2021, and then between how they act and how we act. There's like philosophical crossover that I think is really tight. And then you float around, and this is where I think I basically ask myself, can we solve this? Okay. Can we solve this? Okay. And the pitch is basically that you use AI for everything. You already sort of use AI for every aspect of your life, right? It's like I use it for personal stuff, what to eat, your diet, what to think, your social life, your dating life, your emotional life. It's very obvious that you're going to use AI for your financial life as well. Like, it is very clear to me the path forward where every person has some sort of agentic agent. I hate the word, but it's the word set up that they've given it some level of capital and they are transacting with it. Like, it's like very obvious that this is what's going to happen. AI is going to help you with your finances. That's like very clear picture to me. And so I'm now trying to figure out like, okay, do agents actually need wallets and crypto, or why can't they just use traditional fintech rails, PayPal, Stripe, whatever? And so if everyone has like one agent like a personal assistant basically, and they're like KYC'd under you, they act on your behalf. Yes, they can use PayPal and Stripe to interact with, you know, commerce on the internet and other agents. One, I think it's highly unlikely, as I just think about this, I think it's highly unlikely that you're gonna hands off the computer, allow your little like robot AI to use your credit card and act on your behalf, KYC, publicly doxed, doing risky things on the internet. Okay, that's number one. And so that puts into account, like, yeah, you're probably gonna give it like a pre-funded crypto wallet with a certain amount of money. And then number two comes into play of if you're running multiple agents, right? Like, are you just gonna be running one agent, or are you gonna have like a setup? And if you have a setup, if you're running multiple things, you can only KYC once, right? And so it sort of brings into the equation that these agents are gonna need crypto wallets to transact. And even if they don't literally need it, it's just the money of the internet. It's the money of the internet. It has PMF as the money of the internet. It's quicker, it's faster, it's native, and it just feels like it makes sense. It feels like it makes sense. And so if it plays out like this, and everyone in the world has like an agent assistant, which I can't really think of a future in which they don't, just based off the trajectory of how things are going right now. If everyone has an agent like assistant, and they're using it to help them with their finances, the TAM for stablecoin usage pumps exponentially. It goes up like a ridiculous amount, right? Like 10, 20, 50, 100x more stablecoins transacting, changing hands, and just being minted on chain. And that basically sets us up for an environment where the money and the potential capital that can flow into on-chain coins goes supersonic, right? If every agent in the world actually needs crypto to transact in agentic commerce, if it actually needs crypto, then the usage of crypto is going to go J-curve. Then the AI developer to crypto developer crossover is going to go J-curve. And the two things really tie together, like really tie together. And so we've seen like a couple examples of this where like okay, Jeremy Allaire, the CEO of Circle, who obviously wants this to play out this way. It's like, there's like, hey, Moltbook, and OpenClaw, which is Claude Code or Claudebot. You can buy stuff for humans on Amazon now using USDC. And so he showed this, it's kind of trash. It's like a fucking whack ass perch. It ran to like 10, 15 mil, and then it just basically got destroyed. But it shows you that this is like a discussion that's being thought about intensely. And so I tweeted this the other day, and I said, either every agent needs a crypto wallet is true, and crypto wins forever, harder than any prior cycle, or it's not. And we have severe narrative problems, meaning success outside of Bitcoin, stablecoins is in jeopardy. And so basically what I'm saying is that we are rapidly approaching a future where, one, there is extreme amounts of unsophisticated capital to be unlocked in the Web 2 AI crowd, like trillions of dollars sitting there waiting for use, like waiting to be unlocked. Trillions. There's like more liquidity than you could ever dream of, I think, already sitting there, and that will continue to flow in there. Number one. Number two, we have like the God use case, which is that crypto and stable coins is the money of the internet, and the AI crowd, to build what they're going to build and to be forward looking about where like agentic commerce is going to go, is going to need to tap into. Okay, every e-com website in the world is going to have, check out with fucking Phantom Wallet, check out with stablecoin, check out with USTC, is a legitimate use case. The thing in question right here in the middle, in between both, is like extreme amounts of capital. They need the use case for their agents. The thing that sits in the middle is like, can we figure out, can we us, you, me, anyone, figure out how to basically turn what we will probably see as a massive explosion of AI devs launching their tech as crypto tokens. Can we figure out how to turn that into investable assets that people can hold for more than a couple hours? And our ability to do that, in my opinion, is basically determines whether or not we get the next 1000x game in crypto. Like, there will be other things, okay? I hate when people say you lose this level and it's over. There will be other things. There will be other games. There will be DeFi. There'll be more perp dex opportunities. There will be other... Does that actually apply to me? No. There will be other things. But this, to me, if you're optimistic about on-chain and you take away Bitcoin, you take away privacy, you take away all these other narratives, this, to me, has potential to be the biggest on-chain, not Bitcoin-related narrative that we've seen in crypto. And I am extremely optimistic that people are at least going to try really hard to make this happen. And so we'll see what happens. We'll see how it plays out. And I think Thiccy is ready, so I don't want to waste too much more time. I can come back to this. Answer this. What I just rambled about for 15 minutes, was that like a complete mess, or do you see some validity in what I'm saying? Also, Thiccy, if you're watching on Twitter and you want to chat, twitch.tv/threadguy. I just think this is the take. I think this is what you want. This is what you want to look at. Really, I think this is what you want to look at. I really do. I think this is if he is right that you need a large amount of unsophisticated capital, and this is where it is. And we just happened to maybe in the first time, like crypto didn't really have a direct tie-in to the COVID stimmy cohort of 2021. We just happened to be like a good outlet to gamble on. We didn't have like a direct reason why they came here other than it was like the best and fastest horse to gamble on. With unlocking liquidity in AI, there actually is like potentially a direct reason, which makes it pretty fucking fascinating. So that's where I'm at. It takes a mess because I'm just sort of like, dude, I do this thing now. Where I like, do no research for the gifted. I do this thing now where I 15, 20 minutes, like in the morning, I just walk, nothing, no sound, music off. I just walk around in my fucking, in this room. Like I'm just like pacing, and it's all I can think about today is like trying to piece this together. Like Bitcoin's going to win, the other stuff, like breaking up crypto, where I think it is, and then how I think it's going to play out. And this is like where I've landed. It's like the 1000x game is this. I just think it's this, and our ability to unlock this is going to determine if we get overshadowed or not over the next 3 years. Because we have to just be honest about where we are in crypto. We have to have a sobering take and be honest that Bitcoin is going to win, but it's no longer the case that Bitcoin winning means everything else wins. It is not true anymore. I think it used to be true, but I don't think it's true anymore. It used to be that Bitcoin would win and then everything else would just catch flows. Bitcoin is going to win for different reasons in 2027, 2028. Bitcoin is going to win for different reasons than meme coins winning or on-chain coins winning. It's not, I think it's the most segregated it's ever been. It's not the same game anymore. We have to look at that honestly and openly and not be afraid of that. And I think it's important because you have to think to yourself, if you're going to double down on crypto in, February 2026, you have to have a good rationale for why you're doing it. It's probably not the same thesis as when you joined. Because if it's just for Bitcoin, then you buy some and you log off. You have to, I think I'm doing this for myself because it's like, you have to understand why you're here and why you're doing what you're doing, because it's probably a different reason than when you first came. And if it's a different reason and you don't believe in the reason you conclude, then I got bad news, man. And so I'm fucking optimistic about it. I'm excited about it, where we are. I think it's the greatest narrative we've ever had on chain. And I'm optimistic to see where it plays out. Now, that's my ramble. Thank you for listening to me. I know it's kind of a fucking mess. It was the best I could do. Now, we are going to have a good friend of mine and someone who I honestly think is one of the smartest people in all markets, definitely our little beautiful market. Thiccy thought, come on the stream. And I warned you at the beginning. I'm going to do the warning one more time. First of all, if you're watching on Twitter and you want to chat, twitch.tv/threadguy. Second of all, I'm going to warn you. This is probably not going to be the most optimistic crypto interview that you've ever heard. But I also recognize that right now is not really the moment for optimism. It's like we're here to fucking make money. We're here to make money. We're here to speculate. And we're here to add to our score sheet. And I think it's important, kind of like the gap I just got done with, that we look at things objectively, first principles, what they are. And if there ever was a time to sort of back up and reformat some thoughts on where we are in the world, where we are in the timeline, where we are right now in this market, I think it's important to do it right now. Bitcoin just got washed out. Alts just got washed out. It's like, let's fucking take a step back. Let's reevaluate where you are. Let's make a new plan. If we have to make a new plan, let's stick to the old plan. If we have to stick to the old plan. And let's fucking... D Gills, what's good, my brother? Thanks for the 10 gifted. Let's make a decision. Sober, honest, open about it. Let's not be afraid to look into the bottom of the abyss. Because at the bottom of the abyss, sometimes you can see the way through. So he's going to come on. He's going to give us some great takes. He's a fascinating guy. He's sharp. He's someone that I think is one of the smartest people in the world. Okay. He's smart. Let me fucking relax. And I think it's going to be an important interview. So I'm going to get up. I'm going to take a breather real quick. I'll be back in, I don't know, 45 seconds. When I come back, 45 seconds, I think he's going to be on, and we're going to do an interview. Do the research. Thank you for the gifted, brother. Thanks for the gifted. Thanks for the gifted. Thanks for the gifted. All right. If you're watching on Twitter, by the way, because you just retweeted us and you want to chat, twitch.tv/threadguy. Otherwise, I'll be back in 30 seconds, and we'll rip the interview. Let's get it. Okay. Let me just flip my mic real quick. My battery's dead. And then we'll hit Thiccy. Also, if you really fuck with me, it took a little bit of time to get it out, but I have a new YouTube video up about Moltbook. It's a couple days from Friday's stream. If you really love me and you want to fucking make us lit, run that shit up. All right, let's get it. I'm a little bit scared. I don't know what he's going to say. What's he going to say? I wonder. Damn, he's got motion too. All right. Good luck, everyone. How's the shoulder? Terrible. I'm trying to find a surgeon right now. If you have a surgeon in New York, let me know. And you could get me in quick. Let me know if you have a surgeon. I'd really appreciate it. But I'm a little bit scared for Thiccy. But let's fucking get it. It's gonna be a good one. If you're watching on Twitter, the UI sucks. I promise you. Twitch.tv/threadguy is the best place to watch. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to chat, YouTube, it's good over there. But twitch.tv/threadguy. And let's get it. Thiccy thought, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on. One second. And you came off?
I don't think so. There we go. It was.
Boom.
How's it going, man?
And boom. Thiccy thought. Welcome to the stream, man. How are you, dude?
Good, good. Thanks for having me.
I know. I'm excited for this one. It's good to see you again. I think the timing of this is important. I warned the stream that it might not be the most optimistic outlook they've ever heard, but I think it's an important one. And dude, I think you did a really good job on Saturday Spaces. That was a really solid listen. How do you feel that was?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, it all happened just because you told me, this would be a sick time to stream. All these streaming efforts have been because of you.
I know I'm listening. I'm like depressed, but
It wasn't meant to be depressing, but yeah.
they're important though, and I'm excited to cover some of the stuff today. I mean, I guess to start, like, why don't you rip a quick intro into who you are, sort of how you got here, and then we can get into some details.
Yeah, so I started trading crypto in like early 2023. Before that I'd worked on a crypto startup, and before that I was like a quant trader for a high frequency trading firm. And I think I just got very lucky with the timing of when I got into crypto. It was right after the FTX crash. Everything was down in the dumps, and I basically like rode a 3-year sort of bull market up. And people always like to say like the environment that you first get started in crypto in like really imprints into your mind like really heavily. And luckily for me, it was just like a period of just intense PvP. It was just like, hardcore people like trading tiny size coins, a lot of like pump and dumps and crime and manipulation. So it really like I think helped me hone like my execution skills and like chart reading and like timing markets and like really low time frame sort of execution that like is like the backbone of a lot of my edge now.
How would you describe your trading style and what areas you generally focus on in the market?
Yeah, so I like to think about it as like you kind of have like a bag of tricks, and you just pick up more and more tricks as you stay in the market. And at the start, the tricks were a lot more low time frame and just like scalping around. Like I'd see like, oh, this guy is like clearly there's like an order going on, and as soon as that order ends, like it's gonna revert that flow. So a lot of that sort of like type of trading off of like Twitter narratives, trading off of like liquidation events. And I guess like as you begin to see more and more cycles, you start picking up like longer term pattern recognition. So like, oh, like this is how long approximately like a bullish narrative takes for a certain type of coin, and you start being like just to be able to like time things better, stuff like that. So it's gotten a lot more like longer term, a little bit more like thematic, a little bit more cycle based than how it started. I think that's like the path for most
Yeah,
traders that
yeah.
like get into this space.
I think that makes sense. I like the bag of tricks framing, actually. I think that's really sharp.
Yeah, it's like in basketball, you got like a few moves.
Yeah, yeah. You might have a few. I got a couple more, but I want to just lay the groundwork a little bit, but on how you think about things. But I guess to zoom out and just to start with like a broad question and maybe frame this a little bit. What do you think has happened to crypto, and what do you attribute its general underperformance and just like disappointment over the last probably year and some change, I guess, since Trump coin, January 17th, 2025?
Yeah. Let me see. Let me think about how to start. I think broadly, like markets are a very interesting sort of like truth discovery machine. And in this case, it's trying to answer like, what is this asset that we're trading? Like, what is Bitcoin? What is Ethereum? What is alts? And like the narrative around each of those things has constantly been in flux. It's like overshot, undershot. We've like shaved off parts of the narratives that we've realized like wasn't the truth. And I think, ever since I started, the biggest narrative was that it was well, the narrative that was used for the initial pump was that it was a store of value and that it was getting an ETF. So it was getting like all these flows that couldn't access it before would be able to access it. And the ETF brought us from like roughly 20K to 70K. And the second sort of wave came in 2024 with Trump's election, where the big thing underpinning it was that it's getting sort of institutional support and like presidential support, and eventually there's going to be a strategic Bitcoin reserve where they buy Bitcoin. And that didn't really happen ever.
Mhm.
But and I guess like the third wave of like the narrative was that like these people are buying Bitcoin with DATs and MSTR, and everyone can access it in their 401k, and they have like a leveraged sort of expression of it as opposed to like having to buy spot. Especially this mattered more for ETH and alts. But yeah, those are the three waves I'd say of like what is this thing that we're trading, and each of them have kind of some of the truth is retained, and some of them have like some parts of those narratives have kind of been shaven off and discarded.
I don't know exactly how to frame this question, but how do you think about the impact of narrative versus price? Like when we talk about these narratives that have gotten Bitcoin to certain prices, there's a lot of overhanging narratives right now, and there's quantum FUD. There's Bitcoin has become sort of this Trump proxy asset that makes it uninteresting for the same people that are buying gold. There was initially this digital gold narrative that's potentially being invalidated right now. Like, how do you actually gauge the importance of these narratives, and how much of it is just prices up, prices down, and we're looking for things to attribute why they're trading the way they're trading?
Yeah, it's a good question. I I think price and narrative are they're like a reflex. It's like a chicken and egg thing. They're like a reflexive
Yeah.
process. Like sometimes it lags, and that's like every people say like, oh, price leads narrative, or like, but like obviously no, like people have a reason for doing things, and a lot of the times like when that reason is consensus amongst everyone, like things happen. Like if a piece of news comes out and everyone buys it because of that news, like it's clear like roughly why it thinks something went up. So I view it as like a process that like self reinforces itself. Like if an asset just constantly reacts to a certain type of new information in a certain way, it's going to reinforce amongst market participants, oh, this thing, you're supposed to bid this thing when that happens, right? It like trains this causality in people's brains. And eventually, like if it keeps doing that, eventually it just becomes like this is what this asset is. And it takes a long time. Like if it's like done this for 3 years, it takes a long time to like untrain that behavior. It needs a lot of negative reinforcement for people to finally just give up and say like, oh, this thing actually doesn't do that. It was just an artifact of that regime that doesn't apply anymore. And I think like it's unclear whether we're going through that process right now in Bitcoin. Like we aren't being rewarded for the same type of narratives that we used to get rewarded for. Like like the biggest one was like when the Silicon like when Silicon Valley Bank failed and everything went down, and then suddenly Bitcoin was the only asset that like ripped 50%. Like that was a huge like reinforcement event for like, okay, this is like the asset I long when there's chaos in the streets. When the traditional order is breaking down, this is the thing I long. And now that that's happening in 2026, like people aren't being rewarded for that behavior, and it's like questioning the entire narrative. So that's how I describe the current, what's going on right now.
Yeah, because I find myself as Bitcoin is where it is right now, and I read Twitter too much, and maybe I overthink about some of these things, and I find myself just bouncing from, okay, this narrative is the reason why, then that gets validated or invalidated. Okay, it's this narrative is the reason why, this narrative is the reason why, and it's hard to sort of gauge what is actually important and is actually just noise. How do you think about the narrative for Bitcoin right now? I guess to start with crypto, and what would validate its success moving forward, or like invalidate its failure as time goes on?
Yeah, so I think now is like especially tough. One second, I gotta
No, you're good.
answer the door. I think now is especially tough because like there's these like one-time overhangs that are they're sort of like distorting the truth discovery process. Like we had all this one-time flow come in with ETFs and with the DATs and MSTR, and it's kind of like crowding out like organic demand. It might have like brought like a lot of demand from the future. It just might have just jammed it in all in the present. So now it's kind of like, you know, turning through that like that like huge just price movement. So it's like hard for it to like react to events like it should.
Interesting. Did you want to add to that or no?
Yeah. What was the original question again? I like lost track. Sorry.
I was asking you like where, like, I basically was asking like, what is the current narrative for Bitcoin as you think about it, and then what would you want to see to validate its future success or like invalidate its inevitable failure? Is kind of like basically like both sides.
So I mean, I think like the canonical sort of like dream like narrative is like this is the thing that like is the next monetary system. It's the new form of order. It like sort of solves um, like the problem of chaos and anarchy when the old global order fails, when people lose trust in the fiat system. And people are definitely losing trust in the fiat system, but the marginal bidder, the marginal demand is not flowing into Bitcoin, is flowing into gold right now instead. And you know, there's a lot of ways that you can like view that. Like I don't think it's accurate to say that like people aren't afraid of the global order failing. I think it's more so that like the people that are afraid that have money to allocate are buying gold instead because they're mostly based in the East. And you know, like everyone's had base 16Z had a funny tweet yesterday. Everyone's had like basically 2 years to allocate all of their just shove their cash into assets because they're worried about hyperinflation. So like there might not be that much like extra spare money left. Like typically everyone in the West just shoves their money into equities, and that's how they store their value. And in the East, like China is like M2, like money supply is almost double, more than double the amount that the US has, and they've been kind of like they can't invest in their equities. Like their equities don't do that well. Like the government artificially suppresses it, and there's not many places it can go. Like you can't leave the yuan, right? So this is like an escape valve for them. So you could view it as almost like the way I'm interpreting it right now, which may turn out to be true or false, is that like the Chinese have realized what the Americans realized 2 years ago, that they need to escape their currency into an asset. And because they can't invest in their equities, they're shoving it into gold and silver.
And why do you think, like, why is gold, silver, and then maybe AI, but we could talk directly gold and silver, basically stealing the Bitcoin crypto flows and like outshining it right now? That wasn't something I had really considered had a realistic chance of happening. Maybe that was just naive. But I think it caught a lot of crypto people by storm a little bit. Like, holy fuck, how is this happening?
Yeah, I think that like people in the West don't have a very strong theory of like mind for people in the East, mainly because like the language is different and the internets are completely separate worlds. So you just have like no idea, like even like the journalists and like the academics and the like those important people like don't really know how to model Chinese thinking very well. So it just kind of just came like by surprise, really.
Were you modeling this? Like, how do you model Chinese thinking?
I don't know either. I grew up here. I just know that like
it wasn't like a pointed question. I felt like that's a trader. Dude.
No. Yeah, I don't know. Like my dad will like tell me something. He like watches like Chinese TikTok and like tells me these trends that they're doing, and it's like completely foreign to me. But I guess the point I was trying to make was that like they're very like they're separate things. So it's like very easy to think that like everything that I've experienced represents like totality of like what there is in the world. But yeah, I think that's explains some of like the bewilderment towards this move. Like this is like some serious money flowing through. Like gold's worth 30 trillion. Silver's worth 6 trillion. Like this is like multiples of crypto market cap increasing. So it's clear that like there's money out. There's enough money in the world to like pump Bitcoin to $1 million. It's more so of a question of like, how do we get these people to actually allocate those? Like what we convince them essentially. And like one sort of like Faustian bargain or like deal with the devil that Bitcoin has made is that like it's heavily integrated itself with the US. It kind of sold its soul in order for a quick pump. It's sold. It's like 10% of supply or something. I don't know, like 6% of supply is in US ETFs and MSTR. So like it kind of hurts its like, oh, neutral like credible reserve asset thesis, because it's like viewed as like America Trump coin now.
Which on the narrative top, okay, so like on your initial, like the East is buying gold and silver. There was this, like Bitcoin has always, people have always sort of thought about like the debasement trade, and when, central banks post 2023, Russia, Ukraine, when they start fleeting away from like US exposure, they're going to, buy Bitcoin. They bought gold. And I feel like there's been a lot of fear mongering on the timeline that this, we're entering end times and this is all like central bank sophisticated flow into metals. And it does feel like a little bit on how quickly gold, but especially silver, snap back. Like a lot of that you could just justify as hop all the money, like speculative capital, basically like a retail bid. I don't know how you entirely think of that. And then double on the Bitcoin being a Trump US proxy. Like that's the one thing on narrative. It's like, this is like relatively a new thought to me. Like I hadn't really considered it up until the last couple months, but it feels impactful, right? It feels impactful. Like if it is the central banks that are hammering, and these foreign powers that are hammering metals, it like makes sense why they wouldn't really touch Bitcoin if they're trying to fleet out of US exposure, right? Like I know it's kind of messy, but what do you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's two things. I think one is like central banks are buying, but I don't think they're like buying enough. Like this price action is like, it feels more like it's like Chinese like grandmas, like, just like frothily buying as much as they can. It feels like retail, like jamming it in rather than like central bank. Like central banks definitely account for some of it, but they don't typically like, fight like this quickly for things like this. It's like a good narrative that like helps, like, oh, even if like I can I can go all in on this thing and it's not going to go like to zero because like central banks are buying it. So it just gives like a little bit of safety, which adds like more convexity to and the second thing is that like on the America coin, what was I going to say on this? What did you say about the America coin again?
Just it's sort of like relating it back to narrative versus price. Like I hadn't really considered how impactful Bitcoin becoming a Trump America proxy could be, but it's seeming like, if banks are trying to fleet, central banks are trying to fleet out of America exposure. It's like it is impactful.
Yeah. If it's got American exposure, then it does well with America and it does poorly with America. So it's like, right now we're in a kind of regime where like there's a lot of doubt on American power and the hegemony. So like it kind of suffers from that. And also like central banks don't really need Bitcoin because like the appeal of Bitcoin is like very like libertarian. It's very like, oh, if you're an individual, how do you transport my wealth across state lines or like, across the globe? Like, anything over $1 million of gold is just too cumbersome to actually transport. Whereas like, it doesn't matter if I'm moving $1 billion or $1 of Bitcoin, it's like the same amount of work. But like for central bank, like, just like getting like a ship in an armored vehicle and like some guards, like that's like nothing to them, right? Like to a civilization, it doesn't, it's like so easy to do. So the effort reduction and the portability like doesn't matter as much to a civilization than it does to an individual. And like this is like an important trend. This is an important thing to like distinction to make because like I think one of the biggest trends we're seeing in civilization right now is just like this K-shaped economy, which reflects like, oh, it turns out that the developments of the civilization are different from the developments of the individual person. And the individual person like matters less and less. They're disposable, and they've become a lot more disempowered than just times of the past. So it might not matter, like, all of China can't even like speak freely. Like it might not matter that people have these individual freedoms as long as like the overall machine survives. So that kind of like attacks a little bit of the Bitcoin case.
Could you explain, if the K-shaped economy idea accelerates, how you want to position and exist within that, like as an individual?
Yeah, a lot of it depends on I think your relative stats. Like I think you should always prioritize just accumulating enough wealth and resources to like essentially be emancipated from labor and like not worry about, like, you can survive off your interest essentially. And that sort of like shifts your mindset less from like an offensive standpoint into a defensive one, and the defensive one turns into like, how do I maintain my wealth and how do I keep up with the growth of the rest of the world? So I guess there's like two. Which do you? Is there a particular the offense, the defense game that you want to talk about?
Probably offense for the sake of Twitter and the stream.
Yeah, I figure most of your viewers are like, especially like if they're trenching, or especially if like they're younger in the 20s, like they feel this like degen Spartan type of vibe of I need to make it I need to get to like that sort of elite status where I can rest easier. And I think a lot of people like in crypto have that mindset down to a T, where it's like they know about asymmetry, they know that like making 100K is not going to change their life, but like they got to like keep gambling that to make that like 5 million or something like that. Like I think that's like well ingrained, and it's I think it's the correct thing to do.
Really?
Yeah, of course. Like if you have 200K and you go back down to zero, it's like not a big deal, right? Worst case, you like go get a job, or it's like going from 0 to 200 is not going to change what you prioritize in life that much. Like you're still going to have to worry about how you're going to eat. But going from like 200K to like 2 mil, like depending where you live, like 2 mil is like, you can make 4% interest, 80K a year. Like that's you're set, right? That's like a whole new level. That's like a threshold that you don't really ever have to retreat from.
How many times have you, like, how many times did you like run it to 200K, 250K, 500K back to zero before you hit a breakout?
I think my story is a little unique. Like I was making like, you know, a pretty good amount for my age after I graduated. So I had a good amount of savings, and I was really early into Solana, and I just bought. I was like scalping Solana NFTs. I had a bot that would essentially just snipe the rare ones and list them for higher, and that was back when like nobody really knew how to
Yeah.
read the Solana chain. And so like when I got started in crypto, like I already had like a decent amount of money.
How decent?
Um, like I already had $1 million
Okay.
like already, just like through my work and through crypto.
Okay, so
So it's like I started off playing defense. I never really had to play aggressive offense, I guess. Like I never really had to run like 100K into 1 million, and I have to deal with those round trips. So that's like mentally very brutal.
it's a tough spot. How? Okay, so then what's the other side of it? How do you play defense? How do you play
Yeah,
defense?
I talk about this a lot, where it's like you just need to avoid drawdowns, right? Like, just mathematically speaking, like if you lose 50% of your book, you have to make 100% to make it back. If you lose 25% of your book, you have to make 33% to make it back. So like that's this sort of they call it volatility drag, where how like levered ETFs, they follow normal ETFs, but because they're 2x levered, like if they lose 10%, make 10%, they've actually lost 1%, right? So like that kind of volatility in your book is like bad for your mental health, but also like mathematically it increases your chance of ruin by a lot. So when you get to that like 1-2 million level, like you have to switch your strategy, right? Like you can't just be like, I'm gonna make the next 10x, doesn't really matter if I blow up. Like that stuff might help you get from 0 to 1 or 0 to 2, but like after you cross that threshold, it gets really it's not as asymmetric. So you do have to shift that mindset, and that shift in mindset I've noticed is like the undoing of a lot of like talented young traders that like make it to that level and just lose it back down again. Because like making 100K just on one trade is like easy, but like making like 1 or 2 mil is like that's you need like a lot of good trades to get there. And yeah, it can be quite psychologically damaging to like undo so much of that work in like one decision. It really like it's sad to see when people go through it, and it's like it's easily fixable.
I like that easily fixable. I want to ask you one more on this topic, and we can go back to some crypto stuff. Is like people talk about the K-shape economy, like Centrini's always tweeting. Like people are always tweeting, like this is Fei Zhao's tweeting. This is where we are. This is what's coming. Can you just like explain how that generally plays out? Maybe a historical example, if you have any, or just like how you presume this is going to evolve over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah. I have like an interpretation of this that's like maybe not consensus, but it's just like through my own like readings of like history and my own like understanding with interaction with the world. But like there's always like the American dream and like the notion of like a middle class, in my opinion, was like a one-time like phenomenon of after winning World War II. And because there's just so much abundance, we were able to like do all these things and elevate everyone's lives so much and have all these like social programs and like welfare programs, and everyone just like was like eating good essentially. And I think like everyone alive, especially like if you're in your 20s, like your parents, your grandparents all have this sort of view that like this is like a thing that can persist forever. And you know, the more I realize, the more I like observe just like reality, I realize that like it's kind of the natural order for like winners to win and for losers to lose, and for like this sort of like natural selection to take place and for inequality to happen. That's just how like evolution sort of happens. That's how like good traits get rewarded, and that's how bad traits get sort of selected out of the pool. So I've realized that like a K-shaped economy is actually just like the natural state. That's the equilibrium. That's like if you don't do anything, that's what happens. And you know, we've attempted to like fix this through like different tax schemas and like redistribution. And it's gotten to a point where like we've indebted ourselves so much due to these like redistributive measures to fight the K-shaped economy, right? Like we're bankrupting ourselves with Social Security, with Medicare, with Medicaid, with all these expenses. And it's like we've hit like a certain point where it's like we know that we can't do this any longer. But also like, are we willing to, as a culture, as a society, just like give up this notion of like, you know, everyone kind of is like still the same, like of a strong middle class, of egalitarianism, and like we've kind of reaching that like cognitive dissonance now that is like explaining a lot of like the angst and like all the asset price movements and all those like social and political movements that are happening right now. So that's my read on what on why we are where we are.
And at what point do we just give it up and just let it go? And
I don't
what
think
are the
it'll be
signs that they are like giving it up?
so like right now the signs are that like they are sort of fucking with the currency so that it looks like everything's good and it looks like, oh, the stock market's up, GDP's up, your wages are up. But like when you actually go and try to buy stuff, you're like, wow, I can't buy shit.
Can't
Like
buy
I can't
anything.
do anything. Right, yeah. So like they're trying to hide it right now because like if people don't understand finance that well, so like it's hard for them to like they know like how much they get paid, but they don't like it's hard for them to like sort. It takes a while for them to grasp like, oh, I can't afford things anymore. So that's how they're trying to slow things down. But and they're trying to like it's not just like people are just gonna like be like, oh, okay, like this is just how it is. I'm gonna be at the bottom of the totem pole. Like no, like they're gonna like fight for their place in society. So I think it manifests in like a lot of like political upheavals, a lot of like, you know, the most recent trend was like, you know, the people the MAGA the MAGA right felt very they felt like they were at the bottom of the totem pole after like DEI and like, you know,
Yeah.
this woke stuff. And that's what really sort of like got them to like get out and like vote and like, you know, it's like counter trend rally type thing.
Huh?
So like, you know, the next
Counter-trend.
there was going to be like very violent counter trend rallies from the people who get put at the bottom of the totem pole that will lead to a lot of political instability. So maybe we have like, you know, an AOC, Bernie type of regime where they're like very like, you know, this regime is very positive for asset holders, but like maybe we get a regime that's like very, you know, punitive towards asset holders. So I think that the key part here is to like remain nimble and remain plugged in and to invalidate quickly, because people that like just stick to a thesis and stick to their guns and just ride it to death, like those people, like they, for the most part, probabilistically, they always end up with nothing.
I love the counter trend rally because it's exactly what it was. It was violent. It snapped back fast. It also feels like we're about to snap back in the other direction relatively fast as well.
I think it could, and you know, the function of that is like asset prices, right? Like asset prices are all that Trump has to like keep his coalition together. As soon as if the Ponzi collapses, then like people are going to defect and there's going to be a lot of anarchy.
Yeah, you're right. And it feels like it's ready to bounce off, make a little double top here and test the bottom of the range.
I mean, dude, yeah, like a lot can change in 3 years. Like the election is in 3 years. Like a lot can change. That's why like I don't, because things change so much. Like I think it's really important to just to like I said, like stay nimble and not like marry yourself to anything.
So we have like a little less more years of Trump, and crypto sort of looks how it does. Metals just had this crazy run. Warsh just got appointed. How are you positioned in the market right now? And if you're like mostly cash, how are you generally thinking about the most exciting verticals to play in over the next like couple months, couple years?
Yeah. I've mostly just been scalping around crypto. I was like mostly focused long at the start of the month and then focused short on the latter half of last month. Um, on the long side, like crypto's been very disappointing. Like
Yeah.
things just like don't
Yes.
move up as much as you want them to, and they always like are round tripping stuff. It's been very frustrating trading this thing. It's kind of like lost. It's like the collective sort of belief that it can go higher, and there's just not enough money. There's too much supply, I guess, in crypto. Um, I think like the metals volatility has been quite insane. Like it's incredibly liquid. Like you can just market buy $1 billion of gold and it'll move like 10 bips. And like even silver is like very deep. So
Whoa.
it's like very liquid, very volatile. And you're trading against like tourists essentially, right? Like you're trading against like Chinese grandmas. A lot of times they form price action that you've seen before in crypto. Like you've seen these like wicks and stuff. So I do think like there's been a lot of interest in trading the volatility there, which has explained a lot of the reason why like hype has done so well, because it's kind of vampire attacked a lot of crypto speculative flow into trading these traditional
100%.
assets.
Yeah, I like that you're trading against the grandmas. Um, I wasn't gonna jump here now, but my favorite thing I've heard you say in the last couple weeks, I guess you said on the Spaces, I think in response to Frank or something, and it's the only thing I've been repeating it all day, is that in order to have, I don't know if you were referring to it as it relates to on chain, but I'll take that route. In order to have like another on chain media, you need a large pool of like unsophisticated actors with capital.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's like an important thing. It's like part of like not being married. Like I don't want to marry myself to just like I only make money through trading perps. I only make money through trading spot. I only make money through on chain. Like I it's important I think to identify yourself with like I just make money regardless, and I like to go where the money is easiest. I think the poker players understand this a lot, where it doesn't really matter. Like you just want to play against like the worst people that have the most money, right? And sometimes that'll be a game that you really have a lot of tools and experience playing. But sometimes they don't want to play that game, right? Like sometimes they want to play a different game. And like, are you going to wait for them to come back, or are you going to go to them and learn how to play their game and try to beat them there?
Something I like didn't account for. I mean, I should have the crypto basically 2021, the beginning of it, end of 2020. Something I didn't account for what was happening in the crypto market is that it was a very unique set of just things happening at the same time. One of which is there's this like massive pool of like the most unsophisticated actors possible to have money via stimmies, COVID stimmies. And then it's also was this like unique time where if you wanted to be investing in the bleeding edge of tech, it was basically crypto. Like there wasn't that many, maybe I'm naive on this. There wasn't that many alternatives. AI hadn't progressed to where it was. Like OpenAI existed, but ChatGPT wasn't a thing yet. Like there wasn't really AI. Robotics was sort of seen as far out. And you had this like unique opportunity of a lot of really dumb people with large amounts of money and nowhere else to put it, all in the same place at the same time, where there's not that many assets, right? There's Bitcoin, there's ETH, and then a small pool of alts. NFTs happened. Pump fund wasn't really a thing yet. Like there wasn't that much fragmentation of liquidity. What would it take to see that type of build up again somewhere else? Like, is that happening in metals right now? Is it happening in AI?
I think it was happening in AI. Like, I think you could raise a lot of money just for having like no product. But it's like a game that's like it's hard to switch over, right? Like with crypto, just it was very unique in that like anyone with an internet access could play it. Whereas like with
Yeah.
this like AI stuff, you need to have like a good pedigree and you have to like know the right VCs and the right education. But it was also like very bubbly like that as well. Um, and yeah, like I like the way you put it. Like a lot of these things were just like the stars aligning at this point in time that like led us up to like a certain outcome. And it's like unclear whether they'll align that cleanly ever again. And like when you look back at the price chart, you look back at history, like a lot of like notable historical events were just like one-time things. You know, it was just like very lucky alignments of the stars. So I think that's like a way to interpret that is just like we may not ever get like a 2021 type of regime with that amount of access, with that little sophistication, and you know extraction wasn't as set up so like everyone could make a lot of money. Like it might not ever happen again, and I think that's you know it's important to like be okay with that reality if it doesn't, even
Because
though it might.
someone, it was Trader Noah is his handle on Twitter, made a tweet and he basically was just saying, I think it's the first time in crypto for when he's been around, definitely for me, that you sort of have to at least look into the abyss and accept that maybe, you know, there's like there's Bitcoin, which I think is obvious, at least to me, obviously going to win. Stablecoins have already won. Perp dexes have like relatively already won. But everything else via on-chain being able to create investable assets is sort of it's in jeopardy. Like it might not win. I think that it's going to, but I think it's in jeopardy for the first time. Like I had always looked at it as Bitcoin will just win and then everything else will catch flows as a byproduct. And I think that's largely how crypto cycles have like played out. And I think now you look at it and it's not exactly true. And I think another thing that happened with 2021, digesting it, is that because you had this God setup of stars aligning at the same time, it really like preset people's expectations for the returns that you can expect on crypto assets. And so when we catch like focused flows on BTC, a little bit of ETH and some of these other things in 2024, 2025, and everything, like we don't get the traditional alt season, people really get antsy and kind of like lose their minds a little bit. I think we're like recovering from fucked expectations a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's an excellent way of putting it. And I think it's important to realize that like this is actually like very similar to the conversation we were having earlier, where it's like, you know, we were talking about how we had this like great lifestyle after World War II, and maybe that was just like a one-time thing, and maybe we'll never return to that level of living ever again. Like I feel like it might be the same, and it might be analogous to people looking back at 2021. And you know, if you think about it, like the amount of money that was made and for how easy, like it's not normal to make that much money. Like making $1 million is very hard in everywhere else. It's like a very efficient game. It's like not something that you can expect just to like that you should. Yeah, it takes like effort and like reasons for it to happen. It's not like it'll just fall into your lap again. Um, so I do think it's important to like realize. I guess like it's like a lesson in gratitude, right?
Yeah, it is. Okay, I've never heard the World War II thing before. Like, I've never thought about it like that. I should probably do more like history reading, where it's just like the God setup for America. Stars just like aligned for America, right?
The God setup for America. It was the 2021 crypto. But
it was
for
21
America,
for America, and I wasn't around to trade it. You get spots like what happened in 2021 with crypto. How do you identify these setups happening, and how do you like capitalize on them? Because you could assume we're gonna see another spot somewhere in some market. Maybe it's not crypto, maybe it's not AI, but something similar, maybe smaller in like blast radius, but it will happen again somewhere. How do you like position to be able to identify it as it's happening?
See, this is something that like I don't have like that much I think none of us can have that much experience in if you're like our age, because like these things are like all the times are like, you know, a couple times in a decade these things happen, and maybe when you like have like lived for a long time, you start seeing the patterns. But you know, a lot, I think you have to be plugged in and you have to like just keep track of like what's happening and where things are going. That's just like number one. And then number two, I think, is you just have to be willing to try new games. And that part is hard because like, you know, you're already good at one game. It's hard to like climb down the hill and like be bad at another game again. Like you just want to be like the best at this one thing for the rest of your life. But you know, I guess things and like, people really life really rewards you for being able to like regress your ego and your status and your self perception in order to chase opportunity.
Be careful slinging around that our age thing, by the way. Maybe your age. Because what do you what is the path forward for others in crypto? As in basically on chain, internet capital markets, on chain, these not just like necessarily meme coins, but these pseudo equity tokens that are kind of attached to businesses that the AI devs are now sort of clinging on to. This idea that you could, launch your company, go public at zero on Solana or on Base or any of these chains. Like, what is the path forward for creating investable on-chain assets where it feels it's the most uncertain it's probably ever been?
Yeah. That's funny. I just to talk about like the analogy is funny because like, you know, you see it in politics a lot where everyone's just like, oh, remember the American dream of like two kids in a yard and a dog and all this kind of, it's kind of the same vibe. It's like, oh, remember when we could just, you know, log in and then trade the new launch, and CZ tweets about it and we make like 500K. Like we got to bring back those times. I think it's like there's something there with like selling that message to people in order to like organize a movement and doing something about it. Um, but yeah, like it has to be casino, right? Like all of crypto is a speculative asset. So the only thing that actually has self-sustaining ability and, you know, the ability to like create a token and have it do well is to create a casino that generates a lot of revenue. And like hype and like to a lesser degree like lighter and all these other things are examples of that. But it's like hard to build. It's competitive, right? Like you can't just like build an exchange. It's not like you need like a lot of technical ability to do it.
Like,
But
what's
yeah.
the path forward for something like a pump fund token, like in just like token deploys in general?
Like Pump Fun or like the people that deploy tokens on Pump Fun?
Maybe both. I sort of meant the asset pump fund, but it kind of goes
I
hand in
think
hand,
Pump,
right?
yeah, like Pump at like 1.5 billion is like very fair valuation. Like it makes a lot of revenue, but it's unclear how many years it can sustain for. So the multiple has to be just by definition very low. Like when you look at like the multiples of these other online casinos like Stake or whatever, RainBet, like the multiples are always like lower than what you expect from software. And that's just because like, yeah, these things they can't exist forever. Like people just don't have that much money. Like people don't want to like lose 50K a year gambling every year for the next 30 years of their life, right? Like people like do it for a year or two and they stop. So um, I think it's like got a floor. It may not have like a huge ceiling unless things come back, but yeah, like I think it's pumps like a fine asset. You know, makes a lot of money. For the token deployers, um, the game is like gotten too solved.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Mhm.
like it's the extraction is too efficient, and you know there will be regimes where like there will be like a runner again and it'll go pretty high and some people will make some money, but I think for the most part like the whole reason why pump fund coins did well in the first place was because it was a new game that wasn't solved yet. Like the angle there was that like perps were so extractive but
Yes.
meme coins weren't, and it's a new thing that people were willing to like gamble on because they knew that someone wasn't like an expert in it. So I think like it has to be a new type of game, right? That like isn't as solved, that like gets
So do
the
you
the retail.
believe this idea that there will always be a new game in crypto? Because for crypto's existence, there always has been a new game, right? You have ICOs, you could DeFi Summer, you get NFTs, You get meme coins,
Yeah.
you get AI coins, you get meme coins again, and then we sort of hit a brick wall a little bit.
Yes, I think there will always be new games. I think it's bad to bet against that. People want to gamble.
I like that take. Or I like that you like that take, actually.
Yeah, I know you believe this take.
I do. All right, I like to believe it. I like to believe it.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of trenchers like very plugged in on like the new games that pop up. They're very early to that type of thing. They're very plugged into it.
It's honestly impressive how much, and I'll move on from on-chain in a second, but how much speculative capital still exists to bid garbage AI runner right now on Solana while Bitcoin is 70, 76, 77, 78. It's relatively impressive, actually, how quick these, the Molt book goes viral and tokens at 120 mil day one.
Right.
It's impressive that that's possible still.
Yeah, it's like its own ecosystem. Like I noticed the same thing. My dad used to play a lot of internet poker,
Okay.
and like after the 08, 09 crash, like people were still playing a lot of poker. It was still like lucrative to play. Yeah, so like even in depressions, like people want to gamble, right? Like so that's why I think like to a certain extent, like it's kind of immune to Bitcoin and ETH price moves, especially since like people that gamble may not even own that much Bitcoin and ETH anymore.
They don't own it. They don't own any.
Yeah. So like yeah, there'll always be a floor of gambling, which is why I think like pump the asset like can't go too low until there's a new game to play.
So there's a better game. You said the take on spaces. This is a really good space, by the way. Too many bozos asked questions, but it was other than the questions. Some of the questions were lame, but it was good space. You said, I wrote it down. You said crypto has largely served its purpose.
I think I don't know that for certain. That's just like one angle I have is that like,
Can you explain what it means?
Yeah, so I guess I was saying that like a lot of times like when I look like back through history, like a lot of times like things are just used to like as coronation mechanisms and then they just get discarded away. Like if you look at like celebrities and movements, like a lot of the times like they'll like burn very hot for like a few years and then they'll like society will just discard them. Like right now it might be like clavicular, like what is the underlying emotion? It's like young men feel like they have no upwards mobility and they realize that like maximizing their looks is like a path that they can utilize to be upwardly mobile in society. And like, clavicular, like a lot of these times, like these streamers are very hot and they like, after a few years, they kind of become irrelevant. And like, what was his purpose, right? His purpose was to like be an avatar to channel this ideology through. So like, I don't know if this is for certain, but I could see Bitcoin being like that, like a clavicular, but for the idea of fiat debasement. It like the purpose was to serve as like an alarm bell for everyone to realize that like trust was being lost in these institutions. And then maybe like once people find better assets to like express that view, Bitcoin becomes less relevant. So that's just like one angle I had for how Bitcoin could just be irrelevant again.
Sick take. I haven't heard you say that like that. If that's true, and Bitcoin was just an alarm bell for raising awareness to these problems, the problems don't go away. If anything, they accelerate. It then comes down to what vehicle do you pick. I don't know if you have a direct answer to this, but if not Bitcoin, what is the best expression of Bitcoin ideology?
I think it's hard to say because I feel like a lot of people think that they could just like pack up all their wealth and leave. And that's like a lot harder in actuality. Like if you could do like, why haven't more rich Chinese like escaped? They're just like stuck in China and they're just like, yes, they have like some like offshore wealth and stuff, but like for the most part, like they're just stuck in China. They just accept this sort of loss of personal freedom and they accept the capital controls essentially. So I feel like that probably is going to happen. And you try to find assets within those constraints where like, oh, like, we're all just playing this game of I don't want to say musical chairs. Have you heard of shelling coin?
No, it was
Vitalik wrote. So like a shelling point, it was come up with this like military strategist. Whereas like if you wanted to meet someone in New York, but you didn't know when and where, like where would you go and when?
If you wanted to meet
And like
somebody in New York?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you can't communicate with them. Like, where would you go?
I don't even know how to answer that.
Yeah, so like a lot of people might say, "Oh, I'd go to Times Square at noon,"
Okay.
right? And it makes sense why, because it's
Because
like
like,
that's
yeah,
like
yeah. Most
yeah, it's just
population
like everyone.
dense. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like it's the most iconic thing. It's like the most like, and
yeah.
that's what like a Schelling point is. It's like all these independent actors kind of just like gravitate towards this thing because it just makes the most sense. They don't even communicate. It's just like what people tend to pick. And I think like the whole name of the game is just to like play Schelling coin essentially. It's just to guess where the herd's gonna go and what they're gonna allocate in. And I have like no idea what it's gonna be. Like I'm not like an expert forecaster. Like my edge just relies in like reading the herd and like seeing kind of like one or two steps ahead of where it wants to go and then like bringing that into the future. I don't know where it's going to go 10, 20 steps in the future.
The
So
Schelling coin. That
that's
is so sick. Okay, wait. So you gave this take on spaces that like kind of relates to this, where you're talking about how I'm gonna completely botch it, so fix it for me. Like, um, the people that are on like the bleeding edge of a new movement or a new asset that's gonna go parabolic don't have the historical domain knowledge and like world context to understand like how big it can get, right? Like Peter Thiel selling all of Facebook on day one versus the people that have like the deep domain knowledge and like world expertise to understand how big these things can get aren't tapped in enough to the ground floor to understand like what is evolving and happening right now. Does does that make you said this or no?
I said something like the example is slightly flipped, but you got the idea generally right. Like I guess I view people as like an exponential moving average of their prior experiences. And like people like us are very just
Moving
plugged
average of
into
the
like
prior experiences.
people like us are like very like tapped in every day. We're spending, like hours just staring at this thing. Like we know like what changed from yesterday to today. We're like we have the last, 20 days like memorized in our head, and we know what the steady state looks like, and we know like what could possibly happen tomorrow, what could possibly happen in 2 days. But like a lot of times when you like fit that closely to like the local price movements, you kind of like lose like the broader view of like what my place is in the world, where this thing could go, where it's going, like what's happening everywhere else. So it's like if you're always waking up and going into one casino every day, you might not realize when like a whole crowd of people might leave another casino and then come to your casino and just like jack it up, and you might just like at the first pump you might just sell too early because you don't realize like the context of like, oh, there's a huge wave of people coming over and I'm actually very early to this thing. That's why I think it's important to like balance like being very plugged in and this very like micro thinking with like the big broader picture with what's happening everywhere else in the world, so that like when stuff does come into your house, like you don't fucking sell too early. Like you can actually estimate properly like where it's gonna go.
That's just, I like the exponential moving average take. It's so good. Um,
How'd you like it?
taking that and going back to your what we talked about at the beginning with like MAGA being this counter trend reversal, and then the clavicular idea of just like how quickly he rose to fame. Like something I really feel, and maybe it's hard for me to judge how much of how I view the world and what I experience on a day-to-day basis is the bubble that I live in, because like, most people don't live the same reality that I live, right? I'm hyper online, I'm trading these speculative markets, net worth is swinging, I'm on the computer way more than I'm outside. There's just a feeling that these cultural shifts where everyone's so plugged into the internet are whipsawing at a level that's like so intense that by the time you could even digest one thing, we're on to the next. It manifests in how these like on-chain coins trade. It manifests in like the news cycle. Like I don't know, I'm gonna ask you about the Epstein files later, maybe. But like how quickly that's like this, the zeitgeist, and then we're on to the next thing. It manifests in like in creators, celebrities, like streamers, how quickly someone overnight is like the biggest thing in the world, and then in a week later it's like what happened to them. It almost makes you question like what is the moat of like culture. And I don't even know what my question is on this topic, but have you
Good. I know, I like it.
do
Yeah.
you
I think this is kind of depressing to me, but like, yeah, like when it comes to like internet culture and internet status, it decays very fast. Like you can try to quantify like how much my following or how much my influence is worth, and like you just have to view it as it has like 50% a year hyperinflation. Like if I don't post for a year, if I'm just gone for a year, like how relevant will I still be in a year? And the answer is like zero, like very irrelevant, right? So that's like the sad nature of it, and that's just what society rewards. Like in the cultural game, it rewards you for being very extreme,
Yes.
and you basically serve as like an avatar for this like giant movement, this this collective thought that like everyone else kind of shares, and like they channel it through you as like the mascot of it. And then like once that movement sort of played out, once society's like sort of evaluated like what truths are in this movement that are worth retaining versus like what isn't true, then like it doesn't really have a use for you anymore, and that's when you like fall back into irrelevance. Which is why it's like, you know, money and financial capital is the hardest capital. It doesn't decay as fast. So these streamers, these like cultural icons, like the name of their game is to convert that social capital into financial capital as quickly and as efficiently as possible without like, it's always like bad for your influence to like try to make money off of it, but like they try to do it as like cleanly as possible. So that's like the meta there.
Someplace I felt it, really felt it, was this mole book thing, dude. It's like this. Someone launches this. Like it's never been possible in like human history. It's like someone launches this software on Twitter, and within 24 hours, basically every single titan of tech world is talking about this thing all at the same time, all at once, all in one day. Elon and Sachs and all these people, Karpathy, all these people at the same time, instant, like snap finger, hyper J curve, and then 3 days later, you're like probably never gonna hear about it again, ever. Like you might.
Wait, can you pull the startup? I haven't even followed this thing. I've never.
Do you know what it is?
Yeah, what does it look like?
It's like
I know what it is.
It's like a Reddit clone. It looks like Reddit. It's like a Reddit clone. Sign in with your agent or whatever. It gives you some code to run to authenticate your like Claude bot or Claude code, and then they can go autonomously post on this thing. It's more like a thought experiment, I think, than anything.
Yeah, like to your point, like things move so much faster now because of the internet. Like there's so many events just like jam packed into like this like a short amount of time. It is crazy to see, and things just accelerate. Like things move fast. Like you can almost view it as like clock speed. Like the whole clock speed of civilization has just gotten so much faster. Like we process things at 120 frames per second instead of like 10 frames per second now.
It's a little like nauseating. Okay, I want to ask you this as a follow up, and this is like a sensitive topic, so we can skip it entirely if you want. But the only thing that was on my feed this weekend was the Epstein files, which are we're on Twitch. Also, they're pretty gnarly. So let's like navigate it how you want. But I mainly want to ask you it from the framing of how, basically, like, what are the repercussions of civil and like general population like complete distrust in the higher powers that run the country, basically seemingly all at once? Is this something that like blows over? Does this have like real implications? And then my real question on it is like, what's the trade, right? Like that's what I really want to know.
The trade?
But like, does this have real societal implications?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, I think it does. I think this is an artifact of the K-shaped economy. So I think like in the 2000s when the middle class was stronger, like what did we argue over? We argued against like for abortion, for immigration, like climate change. It was just like middle class Americans arguing against other middle class Americans.
Yeah.
But now there is no middle class. It's just like the underclass, and then there's the elite. And like the Epstein issue sort of like strikes at the heart of this underclass resentment towards the elite, where like it's a kind of a unifying populist issue, right? Like AOC doesn't like Epstein. The left isn't very favorable towards Jews, and people like Nick Fuentes, who are like starting populist movements on the right, are very like America first. They don't like this sort of, elitism that's going on either. So I do think that like this Epstein thing is a driving force behind unifying like the MAGA right and the sort of like AOC left. And 2028 might look less like traditional Democrat versus Republican, and it might look more like populist versus elitism. And I think Epstein is like a key driving issue. And you asked like how you can like make money off of this, right? There's like two ways,
Okay.
in my opinion, you can make money off of any ideology. Like one is you acquire social capital, is like you just say it loudly, you say it articulately, and you get a lot of like essentially popularity for saying something that like society doesn't really know how to say yet, but they feel deep
Yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah.
But like, yes, social capital is not as interesting because like we said, well, it can be. But anyway, the second way is like a financial way, and you put trades on this, and it's like hard to like think of a direct expression because you can have like a completely correct idea, but if you don't get the expression right, you can just make no money. Um, to be honest with you, I I don't know yet. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I've like come to this realization that there will be, um, yeah, you were gonna say something.
Well, I convinced myself it was long Bitcoin at some tie together way on this like anti-American. The system is a make money, basically escape the system by any means possible type of concept. It clearly, I mean, we didn't like pump this weekend on this news, but it feels like
Yeah.
a general trend. But what's the correct vehicle is obviously the question, right?
Yeah, I mean the tough part is that like I view rich crypto traders as part of the elite. And like crypto is viewed as like something that is, I think it will get increasingly viewed as like anti-populist
Yeah, yeah.
because before
White
it was a
collar
populist
elite,
thing.
like
Yeah. Like before it was like, oh, this is a way you can like make money and escape your job. This is like something for the people. But like if crypto stops making money for people, then it's more just like, oh, this is just like a way to swindle money from everybody else. Like so it's very dependent on like how crypto does as an asset. Like is it going to be like the S&P where it like unifies like a coalition, or is it going to be something that will be like sacrificed in the future? Um, I think it could go either way, which is why I don't think it's like the cleanest expression of this.
yeah. What else is in the running?
I haven't really thought about it actually. Um,
It's a weird one.
yeah, I think like taxes will probably be a lot higher. There, one argument is that like people will get more of UBI, and it will sort of reverse K-shaped economies, and then maybe they use that to gamble in crypto. So like,
Dude, I kind of think the
but
UBI thing is like how far are we from left candidate running on subsidizing your job if AI takes it? Like how close are we from that? That's probably a topic in 2028 elections, right?
yeah, especially if there's like a large unemployment.
Like
I feel like
if it happens, which I don't know. I mean, people have been talking about it happening for a while. I don't really think that it has happened that severely, if at all. But it wouldn't take much overnight for it to start happening. You got to think that UBI is going to be a huge running thesis.
Yeah, I think it's very bullish, like trenching, if that happens.
It is.
Right? Like, poor people like buying lottery tickets. So yeah, like whatever the trenching looks like in 2028, if it does happen, like yeah, it'll be a very bullish catalyst.
How far in the future are you, like, how many steps ahead are you thinking when you're formulating trades that and like a thesis for what you're buying and selling? Like, are you thinking about 2028 on a lot of this stuff? Are you thinking about tomorrow? Like, where are you on the spectrum?
I like to think like across large time frames, but I've realized that you don't get paid for that. You get paid for thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow. Like you get paid for like the path. You get paid for like things that are going to happen soon. You don't want to be the guy that like buys like Peter Schiff. Like yes, he's like made a fuck ton of gold, but like bro, he was like holding gold for like since 2012. If you look at the gold chart, like it was like 8 years of doing nothing before it finally went up. And if you look at his like compounded growth, it was like 12% a year from 2012 from gold to get to like from 1200 to here. So it's like it's not like spectacular, right? Like it would have been better to take his thesis and then buy Bitcoin instead and then rotate into the gold and make like, tens of thousands percent. So that's why it's like not, it's important that the expression honestly matters so much more than the idea. Like you can just borrow ideas from someone, right? but like figuring out like the best way to express it, I think, is where all the money is made.
The shift one is an interesting, dude. We did this the other day on stream. He's been posting. I mean, he said he basically first went on gold like 19 plus. He's been showing gold for 19 years, bro. Posting daily YouTube videos about it for like 12 years, every day. Peter Schiff live stream, gold, interview, debate for 12 years, bro. If that's what it takes for me and Bitcoin to go to a mill, is 19 years. I'm not that excited. I'm not excited about that.
Yeah. And like, imagine if you do it and you're wrong. Imagine how bad that feels.
So see, this is always the thing too about like, this is when I start to get like, feel some dread about the being a Bitcoin bull and crypto. And this like idea of being a contrarian is that the fuck part about being kind of a contrarian or being bleeding edge is you don't really know that you're wrong until it's zero and the ship sailed. Like I always thought this about niche example, but Jesse Pollock and Creator Coins on Base. And they're trying to do something that is a really cool concept nobody's ever accomplished before. And so you have to like respect going against the grain and trying it. But the problem with Jesse Pollock and content coins is that there's no way to know if it was correct until either it's taken over the world and everybody has a token, or it's zero and the world has like passed you by 100 times over and you lost everything in the process. It's like it's a weird byproduct of playing the predictions game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And that's life wants you to do that, right? Like life wants you to just like be super convicted and do something. And if you're right, it'll reward you like with a king's ransom. But if you're wrong, like you might just waste like you might just waste a lot of your life just doing nothing. A lot of it's just like, yeah, how do I? It's a personal decision. People that do it, I admire a lot to have that conviction. And even if it doesn't work out, to like stick with something for that long, it is very admirable. But for me, like I'm like a pirate. Like I just want to maximize like my median outcome. I always want to come out on top. And if that means that like I can't be that convicted, I can't be like the last guy on the ship to die. I'm always just gonna. I just want to survive like a cockroach. So that's just my mentality. I think you have to like pick one or the other. And the people that pick something in the middle, or like sometimes they do one, sometimes they do the other, they just end up getting killed.
Yeah,
like you have to either just be the max conviction guy, or you have to just be like a ruthless mercenary. And don't be anywhere in between.
Mercenary getting the king's ransom. You know, it's the Michael Saylor thing, right? When we look, they're gonna make movies about Saylor. He's either gonna be the biggest retard in finance history or like the richest guy that's ever lived, right? There's no in between on that.
Exactly. There's no in between. Yeah.
It's a crazy. Go.
Yeah, same with Suzu, same with Sam Bankman-Fried. Like these people like are like the lesson, like the icons that like, you know, teach us lessons that we look back on. Like in another world, Sam Bankman-Fried owns 8% of Anthropic. Like FTX is worth like hundreds of billions of dollars, right? Like if CZ didn't shoot himself in his own foot and like topple the entire industry, like maybe Sam Bankman-Fried would be like revealed as a genius. It's just crazy to think about how path dependent a lot of these things are.
How much do you think about that in relation to your own success? Like how much are you indexing for? I want to be like revered as an icon in my domain.
I like the question a lot. It's kind of like how much convexity do you want and how much you're willing to pay for it. And like I have this mindset which is like very contrarian, that is like in crypto at least, it's like I just want to like live a good life most of the lives. And if that means like I give up like the few percent chance that I'm like a complete rock star, I think that's totally fine. And I think that's like a shift from like being from the aggressive mindset to like the defensive mindset that we are talking about earlier. But like there is no right or wrong, right? Like at the end of the day, like it just comes down to personal decision. Like, do I just want to like burn bright and be great, or I'm okay like being all right and not taking those risks? And maybe my answer will change as I get older, or maybe I get bored with life. But you know, like I'm very grateful for how my life has changed from 3, 4, 5 years ago. And like I guess right now I'm in a mode where it's like I kind of just want to let that settle and not take too many risks.
I think it's a good take. I'll let you go in a couple minutes. I have a couple more questions for you.
I'm happy to keep talking as long as you want to.
Okay, cool. Because you're kind of flowing, dude. You know what?
I think it's a good combo, dog.
It's sick. It's sick.
We're riffing,
Yeah, yeah. As it relates to your own, okay, like you're really introspective. I think more so than most people. You, by the way, I started doing your thing. 20 minutes this morning, just in the room pacing, walking around. I'm just talking to myself, like fucking. Yeah, like relatively loud too. I'm just talking to myself. No music, nothing. Just fucking.
That's hilarious.
You're very introspective. You write a lot, and I think you like put you direct mental strain towards thinking about your situation and the world around you. How do you balance that part, like thinking basically and executing trades? Like, does it get in the way of executing the tape in front of you versus what you're trying to make of the world?
I think it can. I think the good part in crypto is because it moves so fast, like you don't really need to be that concentrated. Like the chart just gives you so much dopamine that like it's just like so natural to be in flow. But I think it can. I think the issue is actually more the latter, where because the chart gives me so much dopamine, it's hard for me to like take a step back and just like think. It's hard for me to like tear myself away from the screen and like reflect on like what's going on. It's so easy just to tunnel vision on like what the micro stuff, on the feed, giving you hits of dopamine all the time. It's hard to separate. So I think that's like the main balance that I really think after you hit a certain net worth milestone, it's so important just to like take time off and like reflect about who you are, what your goals are, like what like this whole experience is like revealed about yourself as a person. And like that sort of deeper thinking, I think, yields a lot of benefit, even if you give up some short-term opportunity in the markets.
You know, crypto is like could be like extrapolated to, or like how crypto trades can be extrapolated to how our discussion about how like cultural on the internet is moving so rapid whipsaw back and forth that at least the optimistic take of this is you could be contrarian, as in have a long-term vision for how things are going to play, have conviction in trade, sort of like move slower against the grain and outperform. And I think that uh it feels good to hear that. Like I think people that feel overwhelmed and like dopamine just like overstimulated like want to hear that and believe that to be true. Do you think that this is true? Like the way to outperform in this 24/7 internet society is to move slower?
I don't think it's move slower. I think it's like two separate skills. Like one of them is like knowing when it is correct to be contrarian. Like this measures like your NPC-ness. Like how good are you at like being agentic and like having conviction when you know the herd is wrong, and basically like yeah like defecting on the herd. But like there's another skill. You can't always defect from the herd because if you don't keep up with the herd, it'll leave you behind. Like most of the time, the herd is right, right? Just by definition. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. It would die. So like you do the second skill you need is just like how good are you at following the herd? Because like the herd is safe, right? If you're away from the herd, you could just get wrecked. So like you have to be. I think the best traders are elite at both, where like they're very good at figuring out like where the herd is going, how to follow the herd. But when they see the moment to like break away, they have a ton of conviction and they do it with size, and that's how they make money. Like if you like break away at the wrong time, you could like get attacked. I don't know, like by like predators or whatever. There's no safety, so like you have to have both if you want to trade and do well.
I like the herd by default is usually right,
Yeah,
or else it wouldn't exist. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It has to be right, but like it's not always right. And it like defecting from the herd takes like a level of like autism and like contrarian psychopathic sort of like self-belief. It's like very like anti-consensus. It's very like almost egotistical to think I'm wrong, I'm right, and
Everyone
everybody's
else is
wrong.
wrong. Okay, wait. There was this Epstein clip from that interview that is so funny. Every good trader is posting this clip. I think you know what I'm talking about, where he's
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about the market and he's basically saying that the best traders in the world. You could ask them why, what they think about the market, and they'll give you a take, and you ask them why at any given moment, and they can't really tell. It's basically Rhino's ball tingle is Epstein talking about the best traders in the world. Do you think it's true?
I don't think it's true. I think the whole arc of humanity has been like explaining things that can't be explained. And like, yes, I agree that like decision making can be quite hard to explain. But if you ask AI to like form trade ideas for you, like its reasoning is actually getting very good. And I think it'll get good enough to a point where like it will take all the easy trades, and just pluck them away. So like no, I don't think that will exist forever. I think eventually people will be able to explain why they make decisions. Like I think eventually every part of what it means to be human will be able to be explained and deconstructed.
Whoa,
Um, yeah.
that's an insane take, kind of. What are the
Yeah,
implications of that?
yeah. Well, the implications are that like we're not going to be doing this forever. Like it's going to be hard to make money, um, and I don't know what that looks like. Like I think money will help. Like money, if you think about money, like why does it exist? Like the whole point of money is so that you can get other people to like do things for you. But like if people like can't do anything that useful, then why does and like AI is doing everything? Why would they need you to do anything? And if they don't need you to do anything and they have all the power, then like what value does money have? Like obviously like the path to get from where we are to where that is, like money might matter a lot in that path. So you can't just be like, oh, I don't need to make money because that destination looks like this. But yeah, it's like it's not like a terminal end state, right? Like it's like kind of like you always have to be nimble. You can't just like make $100 million and go into a coma. Like you're gonna have to like transition that money into something later, and it's like it's very unclear what that's gonna be. But that's like the grand game of what we're playing, right? That's like the end mission.
So it sort of assumes this like utopic vision of the singularity that does everything perfectly for humanity, and I don't need anyone for anything else, right? Like that vision of like why would you need money with
Yeah, yeah.
AI? Like it's
I don't know if it's utopic because I
okay,
think
maybe
human lives
dystopian,
will
yeah.
suffer. I think human lives will suffer a lot because if you don't need someone to exist, then you just tend to mistreat them. So it'll
Yeah,
be curious
fuck,
to like.
okay. Yeah, yeah, low
It's
key.
kind
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
sad,
Fair, no,
right?
it's a fair take. It's a fair take. I had to think about it for a second.
Like you can be a little rude to like the girl at the bottom of your roster, like it's just, I'm sorry, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Until it's like February 13th and you don't have a date. Interesting.
Yeah.
Tell me
But
that.
these things, like, go ahead.
No, no, finish.
No, no, no.
Well, I wanted to ask on the take of pretty soon AI will take all the easy trades. Like how do you think about traders and AI tools? How quickly that's gonna? Because I think it's pretty obvious to me that maybe we're not there yet, but it's like people are already using LLMs for their personal life, their health, their social life, their relationship life. Like obviously they're going to be using it for the finances. I think it's actually a good Alexander take of at least he's the first person I've heard articulate it, hallucination yield, which is like what the LLMs think the price of an asset should be, and then the delta in between what the price of the asset actually is. If everyone's discussing with the same AI, it's sort of like sci-fi wills this thing into existence. It's an interesting thought, at least. What are you thinking about when you say the AIs will just take all the easy trades?
Yeah. I think it like exacerbates like the K-shaped effect where it's like you don't need as many people to do as many things. Like one person eventually can do the job that like 50 people can do. And that's like the just general trend of technology from like the dawn of history, right? So yeah, like I think like a lot of trades that might have taken, like 10 of us to actually turn into existence, like maybe one guy with like really good AI tools ends up doing that, and the other nine become kind of useless. So I think it looks less like, oh, like Skynet's out there like, oh, like let me buy this meme coin because this guy tweeted, but more so just like the top guy just like builds his moat and scales so hard that like the other nine guys that used to need to exist like don't have a job anymore. And like that's like just that happens across all markets.
Yeah.
Like this is always happening. It's happening in crypto as we speak. Like that liquidation that happened this weekend.
Uh-huh.
Like usually like these liquidation events, like you just mint money, right? But like they happen less and they're less good every time because like people realize that like this is a place you can mint money. If I study these things and I build tools to capitalize on it, then I can just, get more of the gain. So it's gotten a lot more competitive. Like before you could just be at your desk and just like click a few times and suddenly you're up like, $1 million or something. And like you can still do that now, but like it's just harder because there are like people doing this at scale a lot more. So like the easy fruit gets picked. And that's like one example of a trade that gets harder after time.
I like that. Okay, I want to ask you this because I think you're like a pretty aspirational person, all things considered. From where you are right now, what are your goals for the next? I don't know. It could be life goals. I'm more so thinking short term, 5 years. But how do you think about what you want to accomplish from here?
Yeah, I think like when I first got started in the space, like everyone else, like I had this number and I was like operating from this like sort of scarcity mindset of like, I need to make it, right? And I need to get hyper gamble into elite status. And when I hit that number, like I couldn't work with the same passion as I did before. I'm like, what the fuck is the point of all this? Like I'm missing out. So I took 6 months off in New York, and I was just like, just fucking around in real life, trying to like do hobbies, meet with friends, meet people, like discover other games to play. And I found like a few games that I liked, but I ended up realizing that like this is kind of a depressing take. I'm not sure if it's like correct, but like the real world just like moves so slowly that like I just don't get as much fulfillment from interacting with it. Like I still like like sports and hanging out with friends and other parts of your life, but like a lot of it's just so slow and so bureaucratic and just so like it's not like it's different than online. It almost feels like it's like 10 years behind. I'm just like so used to this like constant like dopamine iteration and just like this evolution of ideas and information on the internet that like I realized that like the frontier of humanity is here, right now. And there is no other game to play. And there is no other fast-paced, higher stakes like game with like smart people in the world doing other things in the real world. No, they're all like on the internet, like playing games on the internet. So like when I realized that, and I realized that like I kind of just want to like have fun and um, just like be entertained and like learn stuff and seek truth. It kind of reframed how I view like what I do here every day. Like I still spend an unhealthy amount of time on the internet, but it's less so that like I'm like chasing a number, and it's more so that like I'm just like this is maybe I'm addicted to like just like that feedback loop of like executing a successful trade or like learning some piece of new information or like incorporating something into my worldview and then like having that worldview be like validated as accurate or like learning new things from new people that I meet online. So that's mainly like what's been motivating me nowadays.
Dude, maybe it is dark, but I like fully back that take because it's one of these it's like it's hard to decipher if it's crypto P&L or if it's the like transacting of ideas or it's like a little bit of both. But I really feel like there's a reason people never leave like crypto Twitter, tech Twitter, teapot Twitter, whatever we want to call it. There's like a reason you hit the number, then you stay. And we kind of joke like you can, once you come, you can never really leave because I don't know, at least from as much as I know there's levels to the world. I've seen some levels, not all of them. At least from the levels I've experienced, there's no better place to exist as far as like being bleeding edge in what's happening in the world. And I don't know if you agree with this. I've always said crypto Twitter, which is relatively it could mean a lot of things. It's relatively fragmented and a little bit all over the place. But I've always thought like crypto Twitter is the best place to spend the next like 5 to 10 years on the internet and just spend way too much time in, because as a proxy, you basically are exposed to the bleeding edge of every adjacent industry or internet industry, like everything that's happening in AI, everything that's happening in robotics, what's happening in politics, even though I'm not super tapped on the political side, everything that's happening in internet culture sort of all conforms around like price action in crypto niche, but really everything else. Like it feels to me if you were to hyper focus on one place for the next like decade to by default be as far ahead as possible. It feels like it's this place. I don't know if it's cope, survivorship bias, or the
I
sunk
wholeheartedly
cost.
agree with you. Wholeheartedly agree with you. And I think like this may be like kind of not I wouldn't even call it crypto Twitter anymore. Like I think it's like bigger than just crypto.
Great.
Like I mean I know internet capital markets is kind of like a loaded term, but like just ignoring the context behind it, just like literally like internet capital markets, right? Just like internet trading is the place to be. It incorporates every part of like civilization, like you said. And I think that's like 100% accurate take. I really like it.
As a follow-up, I have this idea that I don't know how much you've thought about this. Like when I'm 24, when I was like 15, 16, it was like the earliest stages, I think, of the internet economy like boom. Like drop shipping went crazy, sneaker reselling went crazy. First time like young kids were trading, trading options. Robinhood early stages, like retail trading, at least as I know on the internet, like really went crazy. And so everyone that's like my age is like familiar with making money in weird ways on the internet. Everyone that's that age, like now, 14, 13, 12, 10, 15, 16, 17, it's like the default that you make money on some weird way on the internet. Roblox economy, Fortnite, there's streamers. Everyone wants to be a YouTuber. Like you're familiar with basically trading internet coins. I'm curious how you think that evolved. Like, are you of the belief that basically every new generation that follows us is going to like gamble on internet assets on Twitter, basically? Like, is that gonna play out?
I think so, yes. And I think that's why this like sort of Zoomer millennial cohort became so ridiculously rich was that like they kind of like arbitrage. It's like they were like the first internet native generation that coincided with sort of internet capital markets. They were the first to crypto, the first to drop shipping, e-commerce, influencing, and because of that, they just got disproportionately rewarded. But like now, like Gen Alpha, like a lot of the easy stuff's already been plucked. So like these guys may not have as much opportunity in those like old sort of arenas. So like to some extent, like there's just less money to be made for them. But to another, like they might invent their own arenas where like this is like the Gen Alpha way of making money. And it's like unclear what those things are going to be as they like become more and more prevalent. Like I don't know when Zoomer ends, right? Like Zoomer starts at like 97, 98. It's it end like 2007, 2008?
Zoomer age range. Up to 29. So 2012.
So like 2012. So they're like 14 right now. So like when these guys turn 20, like they might have their own game to play that like makes them money that we have like we're kind of unks in. Who knows? But I think being tapped into like what that game evolves into is very profitable. Yeah.
It's just like fascinating to see, and you have more experience trading markets than I do, and a lot of people have way more probably than both of us. It's just interesting to see like internet capital markets is a pretty applicable term to put on all of it because you just like sort of see all of these things like becoming one. You like directly see it, on Hyperliquid, but there's metals and there's stocks and there's crypto and there's everything. But you could like imagine whatever that next Gen Alpha like game is, however big it gets, it's sort of all like just merging into whatever you call like what we do every day, which is why I think bull market, bear market, Bitcoin 100K, sub 100K, 50K, whatever, you kind of just stay here because whatever happens next, you win or get exposure to as a proxy of existing, which is why I think the downfall of crypto Twitter is really overstated.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I wouldn't call it. I guess like yes, like a lot of crypto stuff has been sort of, deprioritized by the algorithm, but I think it's like the algorithm telling us that like we need to move on to something that's like more universal and more interesting. And like yes, there may be like a year or two period where like there's just like nothing apparent or consensus, but I do agree that like if you stay plugged in and you stay active, like you will get rewarded for it. Like, this is the place to be, right? This is where like ideas evolve. This is where everything happens. This is like the center of evolution.
It really is. Like I always think like if I were to go down the street in New York right now and ask 100 people if they know what Claude Code is, I would imagine, or if they've used Claude Code, I'd imagine it's like one person, maybe, you know, I ran into an engineer, five people max. And so, yeah, I 100% agree. Okay, I'm gonna ask you this to sign off. By the way, this is sick. I wasn't sure how this was gonna go, what direction we take it. This was honestly really fun. I wasn't sure too because I just hung out with you, so I'm like, am I gonna cover the same shit? Like, I don't know.
I think it's better that we hung out because like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can like stew on the ideas more. I mean, you're a very philosophical guy. You're like a thinker.
Well, I had to like,
So like,
I had to like
it was a
tap
good
into your
question.
mindset, bro. I had to fucking read some
Nah,
shit.
even naturally, dude. I know you're a thinker. You're an introspective guy.
Thanks, man. I know you are. Okay. Sign off question is like double-headed advice. One is for the majority of like, okay, my general age demo like skews younger and skews, you know, aspirational. Like I on offense, growing up in a weird time, markets are weird, trying to make it by any means necessary. Like, how do you play this game and ensure your success? And then my second part I could ask you after is like selfishly, personally, where you think all of this, you know, financial entertainment goes and how I play it. But go with the first one first.
First one is like it's hard to give this kind of advice just because like by definition like everyone can't make it. So this is mainly just speaking towards the people that like are capital poor but are very talent rich. And it's like even hard to give advice to them because I almost feel like if they're talented, like it's just gonna work out for them no matter what they do. Um, but I'd say like for me, like when I look back at my first 6 months were like when I quit my job and I was just doing this full time and I was sort of just like barely making. I wasn't making the money that I like knew I needed to make in order to justify doing this full time, and it was very stressful and existential. And I would get so frustrated with myself and I would just like not be sure of like if I was doing the right thing or not. And to be honest with you, like it only gets resolved in one way is just like eventually if it works out, then like you did the right thing. um but like for me it just manifested in like this, I guess, like relentless like sort of like burn the bridge behind you where it's like I just cannot give up because like there's nothing to go back to. I'm stuck here. Like it has to work out. And that sort of mentality, you know, led me to like, doing 16, 18-hour days, like just relentless, like not taking any vacation. Maybe it was bad for me to like not keep up with a lot of my social interactions, but a lot of the times those like just had to do what was required to win. And like when I look back at that period, I'm very grateful that I did that and I was able to like sort of compound myself into like a repeatable edge and like find a moat for like what I do. And I do think like a lot of people like it's kind of like general advice where it's like you can really change your life if you just lock in for 6 months and just that's all you do. Like if I did like you could do that with working out and just get like insanely jacked in 6 months if that's all you focused on. Like if you just grinded one hobby for 6 months relentlessly, you could probably be like top like 1%, top 0.1% in the world. So I think that general advice just applies here.
It's a sick take. Think about doing that with ping pong, but no, seriously, it's a sick take.
That's hilarious.
Okay, then selfishly, like for me, but also like the genre of financial entertainment, if you will, which is relatively underexplored. I think we always joke who's the next generation Jim Cramer. Like it's relatively unexplored, where other content niches have gone parabolic over the last decade. How do you see that this, whatever this is, playing out, evolving, its importance in the world, need to pivot, whatever?
Yeah, like we talked about this a little bit over dinner. Like I think a lot of times like going like not all views are created equal. Like just getting some like random dude in like some third world country versus like getting like a capital rich, like well educated, like crypto person that is talented. Like one of them is worth a lot more than the other. Um, so I mean I noticed like you talk a lot from the frame of like trenchers and like people in Solana, and like that is like a good base, but I do think it can be like expanded. I mean, especially like if trenching doesn't come back for a while, like there are still a lot of other capital rich plugged in intelligent bases to appeal to. And I guess it's just figuring out like what kind of content they want to see while still making it entertaining for the people that like, you know, have watched you for a long time. So I guess that's what I would probably go towards if I were in your situation, which I've been like considering, you know, maybe like streaming too. But, you know, yeah. I think you have a much better, I don't know. I think you have a better personality for it, and like you have a team and everything set up, and you know you've done this for a long time. So
You have an ethical and moral responsibility, Thiccy.
I might just hop on your stream every now and
Just
then.
come on once a week or once a month. And fucking, we'll just rip it. Dump everything out here first. Dude, this was sick, man. It was the longest one I've done in a while. Thank you for coming on. I think we covered a lot of important stuff, and I wanted to use today to just reset a little bit, like cleanse the mind a little bit, reset, take a step back after, you know, a year of carnage, but a weekend, just brutal weekend, and sort of like give people a differing perspective, maybe a flat reset on how to think about some things. I think you called me the thinker, but you like invented the thinking thing. So thank you for your time, dude. I appreciate you coming on, and I'm hopefully see you soon, and hopefully we can do another one.
Yeah, I'm down. Good
All right,
talking,
bye.
man. Take care.
Have a good one, man. Peace. Chat, that was a movie, huh? What'd you think? I said bro invented thinking. Dude, you know, it was a little bit different than... They keep going, I'm going by. It was a little bit different than what we normally do. And I liked that. I was into that. Like, I liked that we fucking covered... You know, I wanted to cover like the market, obviously, but I find myself more and more taking a step back from my attachment to cryptocurrency and trying to think more about my interests and my skills and where they can be applied. Because I don't think that, you know, we necessarily have to just only attach to like DeFi or stablecoins or Bitcoins exclude. Like, I don't think it has to be my personality. It doesn't have to be your personality, you know? Like, I don't have, threadguy doesn't have to be synonymous with only existing because this other thing exists. And so it's nice to have a conversation like that to sort of just, you know, because the problem with that is that when it's up, you're good, and when it's down, you're bad, you know? And I don't want to be, like, if we're bad for the next year straight, I don't want to just be bad and unable to do anything because the market is, because this specific market is bad. And so I've, you know, very slowly and in my own ability, which is, I'm a sort of precise and I dilly-dally along. I'm like an LLM. Okay, and Tulip King told me this today. It consumes like 150,000 words to write you like 2 sentences. That's how my brain works. Okay, I have to download 100 hours of content and ideas to be able to spit back one articulate one. So it takes me a while to build, like, in order to finally have a perspective on DATs back in the day, I had to do like 15 DAT interviews. And then finally I'm like, okay, I got it. I'm like an LLM. That's how my brain works. And so I've just spent like extra time trying to just download an understanding of why the things are the way that they are in this market. I think it's important. I think it's important to like understand what happened in 2023 with Russia and Ukraine. I think it's important to understand like, okay, you know, this debasement idea, but like, what does it actually mean? Where the flow is going, how is it playing out? Like, it's important to understand that. I think it's important to understand why metals are ripping and why these other markets are high. I think it's important to understand like where the state of AI is and where these other things are. Because what I didn't realize in 2021, when we talk about crypto in the bull market, What I didn't realize at the moment was that it was actually the perfect storm you could have ever conceptualized of rates at zero, stimmies everywhere, no other investable technology, the bleeding edge of smartest people in the world. It was like the perfect storm. And I didn't have the foresight to understand it. I'm all I knew was crypto good. And so I just assumed, 2025 crypto good, but it didn't you don't have the same setup. It's a different setup. It looks completely different. And I think it's going to be increasingly important for us. If we're like, look, I tell you all the time, I want to make 100M. I want to make 100M bad. And I'm going to make 100M. So if you watch me every day, you're some of the 5 people you spend the most time with, you're probably going to make 100M as well, or fucking, 10% of that. Be happy with it. I think it's like important for me to understand the setup and the like ingredients that basically make the environment the way the environment is, because it is just like Bitcoin bad. There's like a lot of other things at play here. And the more of those, I think there's a way of overdoing it, but the more of those things that we understand as a group, especially me as the one are trying to articulate them, I think the better our ability to recognize the new thing. Because basically here's the deal is like, we want the perfect trading. That's the environment that we want, right? That's the environment we want to optimize for, of like, he talks about the middle class, the prosperous middle class after World War II. It's like, that's the perfect environment ever to be, long US. You would like that to take the environment any day of the fucking week. Or, 2021, exactly what that is. That's the perfect time to be long fucking crypto tokens. It's like, we need domain knowledge to be able to find that next setup. I think it's the traders that are way smarter than me always talk about game selection. It's like identifying setup is where we really want to be, right? And I think it's important to take a step further out of like, I'm a crypto person. It's like, no, you trade crypto because you see opportunity in crypto, you see asymmetry in crypto, you see an opportunity in crypto to like hit this trade or hit this idea or like express this viewpoint. But it doesn't mean that that's going to be the only way to express. It's like, cool, you were long debasement, but gold was the better trade. And so you could be long like crypto ideals, but pick a better vehicle for it, potentially, right? You could pick a better vehicle for internet capital markets. Maybe it exists. The only way we can even identify that it exists is by doing basically what Thiccy said and what I have concluded on my own, which is sit here on the bleeding edge of the intersection of the two most important technologies of our generation, crypto, aka new finance, aka, tokenization, and AI. And the intersection of the two things, everything in between and around it, it gets fucking weird. You have AI and you have things like Moltbook and Claude Code and all these incredible technologies that spew out of it. And whatever the next game is, because there's always a new game, because people are always trying to make money out of the system. There's always a new game. Whatever the new game is, you are by default going to be the earliest to it by sitting at the intersection of living in between these two things. And maybe it is crypto, or maybe it is AI, or maybe it is blockchain, or maybe it's not, but it's going to resemble things in the past, right? Like, just like what meme coins were resembled what NFTs were, kind of resembled what like DeFi Summer was, kind of resembled what ICOs were. It's going to take inspiration from history. It's going to resemble what's come before it. And because we traded what came before it, we'll be prepared to trade what's going to come after. And so my take on like why I stream and why I do this, why I interview people, why I'm curious about what I'm curious about, is that I do it because I get paid, obviously. But the second nature is I think, I'm 24 years old and bro, I want to be great. Like, I want to fucking be great, and wherever the world changes, I want to fucking be a part of it, play a role in it, and help influence it. And I think the best way to do that is to be as close to the source as humanly possible. Like, get as close to the source code as fucking possible. And I think showing up every day and being forced to like test my ideas and talk about these things and interview people and trade these markets and understand what's happening, why, I'm forced to do it. Like, I have to fucking come here with some shit for you all, or I'm like, or what? So yeah, the 5 hours before stream, I'm going to fucking learn some shit. I'm gonna try as hard as possible to bring you something. I gotta bring you a segment, right? It's like I gotta bring you 3 hours of stream content. What am I doing tomorrow? It's a solo stream. I don't even know. So I'm gonna go learn something. I'm gonna get in the trenches. I'm gonna figure something out, and then I'm gonna propose it to you all, and it's either right or it's wrong. And the thing about crypto is because the markets move the way they move, it's so compounding. Like if I bring you an idea, like I'm long, privacy right now, and we go long Zcash and we get killed, it's like, okay, what was the mistake? Was the thesis wrong? Was the vehicle wrong? I don't really know, but we get instant feedback. And that's what the stream is. It's like 24/7 instant feedback on markets. And so I think it makes us really good as a byproduct. And I think we have this wealth effect. Like what happened in Solana is like, Solana's $8. Everybody, ports Solana and or the Zcash long made money, but not in the back end, but nothing was wrong. Everyone either ports Solana and or ports Beta on the way up, right? Trades NFTs, trades meme coins, and then you get this massive wealth effect on Solana that everybody that was adjacent to the Solana ecosystem makes a fuck ton of money. We get to blow off the top of Trump coin. I think there's like a similar wealth effect with like ideas or like domain understanding on a stream like this, which is like we do it every day for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. At the beginning, we're like pretty retarded and we don't really know what's happening. And then we just compound it day over day over day over day over day. The people in the chat are like pretty retarded, but you also compound day over day over day over day over day. It's just like iron sharpens iron, but like exponentially. It happens really fast. And so as I get smarter, you get smarter. As you get smarter, I get smarter. And we sort of like, it's like PRP I'm learning about, where it fucking like they spin the blood really fucking fast and they inject it into your system. I think that's kind of what we're doing right now. And so that's the stream for today. I think that we exist in an extremely unique opportunity on the front lines of internet capital markets. I think Bitcoin is as close to a guarantee as you could ever see. I don't think we're wrong about Bitcoin. And I think there's $1 billion, decatrillion dollar opportunity in, others in crypto, making investable assets on chain. And then everything else that will come with it or after it, whatever that new game may be, we are just the most well positioned to capitalize on it as a default of just existing here every single day and being as focused as possible on it. So tomorrow I'm down to get more nuanced strategy, exactly what I think, time horizon, things like this. But you're in the right position at the right time. You were born in the right place and you're spending your time correctly. How long it takes, how price action is going to play out, and what vehicle you could capitalize on to make the most money, it's kind of up for your own interpretation and for us to figure out, right? It's like the environment is what it is, and then it's on us to figure it out. But I think as, one step further than the best way to spend the next decade of your life is on crypto Twitter. The step further to that is on the stream. And so I come here every day and genuinely believe what I talk about, believe what I am interested in, talk about the things that I'm like passionate about, what I think is going to happen. And I really do believe that by doing this every day, I'm making myself and the people that surround me, you guys, smarter, sharper, and in a better position to win. So the day I don't feel that anymore is the day that we probably stop doing it. And I don't think that's going to come anytime soon. So I'm out. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I really appreciate you coming here. Numbers are sick. 100 live on YouTube, 240 during that Thiccy stream, and 100 on YouTube. Numbers are growing. Things are fucking popping. And I really believe like there is probably dark days ahead, but there's light. There's always light. And whether it's this tide rising or us just like flying across the country onto another beach, I really believe we're going to be able to swim in it. I really, really, really believe we're going to be able to swim in it. Hello, Cyrus. So I think that we're right. I think that you guys are going to be okay. And man, what Thiccy said is really true. Like 6 months, you could fucking change your life. There's not many people here that put in 6 months of 12-hour days. There's just not. It's like, there's not that many people doing it. There's really not. Your competition is really not that severe. So we'll talk more intricately on the nuanced stuff tomorrow, but I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming to stream. It's a beautiful Monday. Go be great today. Go tell someone you love them. Go give your mom a hug. Go tell, your girlfriend you love her, whatever it is. and do something good for someone today. And be thankful we live at the best time. We live in the best time in human history to be alive. At the intersection, the forefront of the two most formative technologies ever. Crypto and AI. You get to exist within both of them. So be thankful for that. Be grateful for that. And don't take it for granted, man. It's generational opportunity. If you took 2021 for granted, don't take 2026 for granted. I love you all. I'm out. Peace.